Call to order the meeting of the Brawley City Council and successor agency to Brawley Community Redevelopment Agency. This is our regular meeting agenda for Tuesday, March 2nd, 2021 at 6 p.m. here at City Council Chambers. We'll have the roll call. Alma?
Councilmember Wharton.
Here.
Councilmember Castro.
Here.
Councilmember Nava.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Couchman.
Here.
And Mayor Hampton.
Here. All right, we'll have the invocation. It's an honor to have Pastor Eki Tepsupornchai from Western Avenue Baptist Church.
Yeah.
Can't take this off.
Sure.
Well, good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. We certainly appreciate everyone who serves this city, serves the people of Brawley. As you mentioned, I'm the pastor of Western Avenue Baptist Church and one of the police chaplains for Brawley PD as well. We do have our services available. We invite you to come join us one of these days, Sunday morning, starting at 10:15. We have activities for children as well. We have Children's Church on Sunday. We have Awana on Wednesday, and we have adult teaching on Wednesday, Thursday, and early Sunday morning starting at 8:30. So you're all welcome to join us. Our goal is to teach the Word of God and to be a blessing to the community of Brawley. So with that, let me go ahead and open us up with a word of prayer. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this evening. We thank you for these servants whom you have chosen to serve the city of Brawley. Father, I'm thankful that we have these opportunities to gather together in person, and I pray that you would protect everyone who is here, help them to be safe. We pray for the discussions that will take place and all the matters that need to be decided. Father, we pray for a spirit of wisdom for everyone who is here to discuss these matters. Help them to be united in their desire to seek the welfare of the city and all the citizens who are here. Father, we know there are many challenges, and administering the management of all those challenges for the city is quite a challenge. And so, Father, we just pray that you would help them to be guided by their desire for the welfare of everyone who is here, to do what is right for the city, that they would be a blessing to the city, and that the city could be a blessing to the county. And Father, we pray that you be glorified in all things, and we give thanks to you and pray these things in the name of your Son and our Savior, Christ Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. City Attorney Bill Spurden, will you lead us in the pledge, please?
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is that the legal version, Bill?
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, we need an approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Moved.
I'll second the motion.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Agenda is approved. Moving on to item number 2, public appearances and comments. Not to exceed 4 minutes. This is the time for the public to address the council on any item not appearing on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. Any public comments?
Hello, thank you. My name is Michael Reeves. I'm here speaking as a parent, coach, volunteer, and Little League board member, addressing the issue of potentially charging Brawley Little League for usage of the lights. So I'm just going to make a bunch of points real quick, pretty self-explanatory. I'll leave the paperwork for you guys to review, and thank you for hearing me out. So first of all, I wanted you guys to know we're a nonprofit, and last year was a rough season for us. We had to pay our league fee, we had to pay for our liability insurance, pay for our equipment and jerseys, and then of course the season was canceled due to COVID. We didn't get that money back. We told all the players who signed up last year because they didn't get to play that this year will be free. So we're not planning on charging anybody anything for this season that we're hoping is about to happen in about 2 weeks. And due to that fact and the fact that this light charge is new to us. According to our president last year, we didn't know about it, and this is the first time it's coming up, and we don't have time to adjust this quickly. And at the rate we were told we're going to be charged $20 an hour, we did the math on the usage of the practice facilities, the 4 fields that we're going to have to practice on, and of course we can't practice during the day because people are working. It's going to be night, and we got to be spread out to COVID regulations, plus we're having games on fields. I did the math for 4 practice fields plus 3 game fields, and it's going to add up to about a $30,000 cost at $20 an hour, which is a crazy amount for a nonprofit. And I put up on this sheet that I'll leave here for you, that's going to add about $200 per kid. On average, we get 160 kids signed up. $200 per kid, last minute notice, just to be able to cover the cost of the lights. On top of that, we don't necessarily disagree with your charge. I think it's possibly a good idea to charge the men's league softball. It's their hobby. They've got jobs. They got money. They can pay for their hobby if they want. We should definitely charge the out-of-towners for use of our facilities. But these kids, they don't have jobs. They can't pay for this. This is something for their social development, their physical development. It's something that's good for the city. It's something that can be used to build citizenship and help them grow up into good people, functioning citizens of Brawley. They need something like this, and without your immediate help, we're not going to be able to make that happen. Little League just isn't going to be able to fix this on our own. A couple things that makes us different from men's league softball or those types of things: they don't practice. They just show up for the games. It's for fun, right? The kids have to practice. They got to develop skills, sharpen their skills to make it safe and fun. So we're practicing 15, 16 teams every night, and it's hard to balance it with our shortage of fields. So when some teams are playing, that opens up facilities, but that's why we're practicing at 4 fields every night, and I listed them on this sheet, as well as playing at the 3 main fields, Volunteer 1, 2, and Beachy. So, again, it's different when you charge a men's league softball. They're just playing games. We're incurring costs every single night for practices plus games. Another thing I wanted you to consider is doing an audit on the lights. Perhaps, they're outdated and using too much electricity. Also, I was told, I don't know if they're accurate, but I was told it doesn't actually cost $20 an hour to run the lights. They think it's more like $4, someone who used to work in the energy department for the city. So I would just encourage you to audit that, see how much it actually costs. And for the kids programs, nonprofit, maybe charge them actual cost if you have to, rather than maybe a higher cost that would give you a little bit of profit. Another thing I want to bring up is, as I said, it's an emergency. We're not travel ball where they can make profit. This is all nonprofit, and we're going to do our part as well. I've looked into grants and funding from energy companies for kids programs, for nonprofits, for things like that. I've heard they're accessible, and you just have to find them and apply. As Little League, we will do our part and call the IID and see if we can find grants for in the future if we have to pay for lights. We'll also have time to plan for maybe sponsorships like they used to, how you had, company names across the back, Blue Jays on the front, and, I was, Circle K or Western Liquor or Reeves and Sons on the back, whatever it may be. We'll have time to develop that if necessary. So we're going to do our part as well for the future, but for this year, we don't have time. We really need your help. Thank you for hearing us out.
Thank you for your comments.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, please stick around. There's be some information that might interest you here in a bit.
All right, you got it.
Yeah, these are desperate times, interesting times, and it's difficult to hear that, the plans that were made last year weren't able to be carried out, and money that was put toward uniforms and, the fees that are associated with being on the team, are just gone. And so I think it's important that we kind of try to meet in the middle. So I appreciate you coming and making your comments.
But just one additional comment, if I could. With respect to the charges, I mean, it's something that we have been looking at for years, quite frankly, and we're looking at cost recovery. So the cost that you're talking about, we're not in the business to make a profit. So anything that you do see is based on cost recovery. So I wanted to add that comment in there.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not that it's all electricity cost. It's, there is some personnel costs for, turning on lights, unlocking gates, whatever the case may be, depending on the park. But
And I think, quite frankly, some people sometimes when they see the actual cost that it does cost to run facilities, they are surprised to see that it's very, very high. So I know we've subsidized other facilities like the Lion Center and other things. I mean, obviously, user groups are not paying what it costs to operate it. But, just for your consideration, I mean, that's just something that I think is important for the public to realize, too. So.
Mr. Mayor, is there, this is public comment, so I know, there's
Yeah,
no
we're not gonna get
deliberating our decision-making here, so I hope all council members understand that. But with that, is this a topic that we're wanting staff to dig into a little bit more and take a look maybe
Yes,
for
for sure,
another
because.
council meeting?
Go ahead, yeah, I
Yeah,
think for
that's
another.
Bring
all.
up for discussion.
Yeah.
Now, what might be happening though here is that it may be too late to do that if they're gonna start in 2 weeks. So I think maybe what we do is direct the city manager to work with them on this issue. Maybe what we also may wanna do is look at, can we do something to help them due to the COVID situation? And kind of phase this in over the time of maybe heading into the next year's season, not this season, because it seems like the season's been sprung on them, it's sprung on
Yeah,
us kind of
it is.
from the city side. Maybe we want to look at making some waivers for this year, but making them aware of what we may have to charge. And I'm not sure 30,000 is fair, I'm not sure 2,000 is fair. But talk to them about, have the city manager meet with them, and one of us or two, or if we need to, the council can, a couple of council members can meet with them, discuss what they think is fair and what we think we can live with, and maybe have a look at sponsorships. Maybe they're gonna have to charge an individual member a certain amount of money. It may not be very much. I don't wanna see it be $200 a player, because I don't think that's feasible. But I think that if we can work with them on this, I think for the following year, we can kind of get this into place where that we have some way of doing that. And I think we're gonna have to do that with a lot of other organizations too, as this moves along.
Right, yeah.
So not to get into a big discussion about it, but I think direction to the city manager to meet with these individuals with the Little League and work out a plan.
But to bring that back to
And bring it back
ultimately
to us.
council, 'cause if we're talking about manipulating the fees in any way, it's real important that, right, we.
And maybe we should bring that
for
back
all
to our
user
next
groups.
meeting. I think our next meeting, we're gonna have budget discussion and some other things on there. It's gonna be a pretty big agenda.
Yeah.
Maybe we can move this to the front and do a brief discussion on how we wanna handle this after he meets with them and get some more details done. If that's acceptable. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't wanna
Mr.
speak for the
Mayor.
whole council.
Yeah.
I'm only speaking for myself.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea, and obviously time is of the essence if they're starting in the next 2 weeks.
Yes.
And so,
I'll
certainly.
go out on a limb and say, don't worry about it right now.
Right, yeah.
That's-
How about
And
that?
I would say the same thing.
Yeah.
Just, we'll work through this one way or
Yeah.
another.
Yeah.
All right.
Mayor, I have
Sorry to
my,
speak for everybody, but I
That's
mean,
fine.
that's what we're
And I
thinking.
agree
so
with
it's like, you know.
Don't worry about it. Just let them play and we'll see where we go.
Let them play like the Bad News
Yeah,
Bears.
let them
Let
play.
them play. There you go, right? There you go.
Can we just start at 2 PM
Right?
and call it good?
And you'll be the coaches, the one drinking beer in the dugout, you know?
No, I'm not any good at
All right?
coaching. No, no.
Yeah.
Mr. Reeves looks like he can still play.
Yeah, there you
Still
go.
ball.
Now, these two guys down there, I think they might be good at
Yeah.
coaching. I don't know. That one over there, don't make me have to call Nanny then, okay? Don't make me call Nanny. Okay.
Tyler, did you have a
My
question?
nephew.
no, I was, Mayor, I was just saying I have my directions.
Okay, good deal.
Okay, very good.
All right, any other
right,
public
all right.
comments? Alma, was there anything emailed in?
No.
Okay. All right. We'll move on to item 2D, correct? Is this the introduction of Carla Romero, interim finance director, and Rachel Fonseca, Parks and Recreation Manager, by our city manager, Tyler Salcido.
Is that the order they're listed in?
Yes.
Okay. We'll start with Carla. Carla Romero, our interim, come on up, interim
down.
finance director. She is from Brawley. She's a BUHS grad. Carla has a bachelor's and master's degrees in business administration, both a bachelor's and a master's degree. She has over 20 years of private and public finance experience, and for the last 5 years, she has served as the finance director for La Quinta. Carla is also a board member of the California Society of Municipal Finance Officers, representing the Southern California region. She also serves in several statewide committees promoting fiscal transparency, succession planning in government agencies, and the implementation of new regulations. Carla?
All right.
Thank you. It's always a unique opportunity to be able to come back home. I've owned a house here since 2005, graduated from here, know Michael. It's a pleasure to be back and be able to serve this community. It's not an opportunity we always get, so thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congrats. Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard.
Anybody want to?
Yeah, no, congratulations and welcome aboard. Your first issue to work on are the light costs. And,
There's a light.
And since you already know Michael, then there you go. So no,
I mean, this
all
is-
joking aside, congratulations, welcome aboard. Our city manager, he said many good things about you, so we're excited to have you on board. As you know, we're in the process of changing up our leadership, and you're part of that team, and so we are excited to see it, and once all this COVID issue is a little bit past us and we're able to more freely move around and operate, I think we're going to be in a great position. So welcome aboard and congratulations. So.
Yes, the same. I mean, congratulations. We welcome you aboard. We expect great things and work with Tyler closely, and I'm sure everything will work its way out. We're expecting some things on budget here shortly, and I'm sure the people and we on the council are very interested in hearing that information. And I know you're going to hit the ground running, and you'll do fine. Very good.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome aboard, Carla. Very happy to have you here, and I bet Tyler is super excited to have you here. So.
Yeah.
Look at all that gray hair
Right, yeah.
you put on the last few months. So.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
I'm not, wait, I gotta get mine in, sorry. Carla. I only mentioned that because we did briefly chit chat just before the meeting, but just so many attributes, certainly. The resume speaks for itself, but I think there's always a special check mark when someone is homegrown, and so very proud of that fact. I always think that makes that little bit of difference, on how we execute our work and our job here with the city. Carla, I also want to mention that, one of the points of pride maybe doesn't often get reported, but for us as a city, everyone knows, God knows, that we've gone through, some struggles, and really had to work hard to get us to where we're at. For that, we've been grateful with our city manager, certainly when he was in the finance position, but for you to be able to take, kind of the ball from where it's at and continue advancing, we're just very, very pleased, I can tell you, as a council and as a staff. So welcome aboard. Looking forward to working with you. And it's budget season, right? So we're gonna see a lot of you, I think.
Yeah.
The flowers are blooming for budget season. Yeah.
It's in the air. Yeah, it's perfect timing. And
We're inviting Mr. Reeves back there too to join in on all the budget discussions.
Yeah, on the budget
It's a lot
discussion.
of fun.
I mean, I'm not going to say you're out of our league, but we are very grateful to have you. And it's good that you're from Brawley because, as Donnie said, it just, that connection, I don't know, I think everything means a little bit more to you because you see behind the scenes and you see where we need help. And I'm feeling very optimistic about the year ahead. This new team that we're building is just very encouraging to see. So welcome aboard, and thank you for coming in at this time.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carla.
Thank you, Carla. So, in relation to, speaking of out of our league, we
I know it's
have-
all this league talk, Little
We-
League,
we
Afro
have-
League,
all this-
then Parks and Rec,
little-
let me finish here. We have Rachel, who's a Dodger fan, so she's in the
there
top
you
of the league there. So that I don't think I need to say any more. That's, a Dodger fan. That's,
Go Blue.
yeah. So, we have Rachel Fonseca, born and raised in Brawley as well. She told me she's a hardcore Wildcat fan. She has a bachelor's in public administration from San Diego State University, a master's in public administration from Cal State San Bernardino. Parks and Recs runs in her family. Her father worked for 32 years with Parks and Recs and retired from the city of Brawley. So that's a neat thing there. Also, she let me know that the softball fields at Hinojosa Park are named after her grandfather, Frank Fonseca. She's hit the ground running and has dove right into the Parks and Recs activities and challenges, and right in the middle of a grant, she hopped right in, and you'll hear later today from her and Sylvia about where we are on that grant process. So welcome aboard, Rachel.
Awesome.
I just want to say how very grateful I am for this opportunity. It's been one of my goals to work for the city of Brawley, and I'm here, and I can't wait to help in any way that I can.
All right,
Fantastic.
thank you. Thank you. Welcome aboard. We're very happy to have you and heard very good things about you. And certainly, as COVID lightens up and we can open things back up, it's going to be very important to have programs like Little League and other offerings that the city's had in the past that we haven't been able to have. It saved us a little bit of money on one hand, but on the other hand, it's just been sad to see empty parks. And it has also been, as things got shut down, and it was like people should be out exercising and getting fresh air and sunlight because that's part of the health issue that we have here. So I was glad to see when people started going back to the parks, but it's going to be very important that we do everything we can to accommodate in any way that we can the programs that we have offered in the past. So it's good to have you on board.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really do look forward to working with you at the parks. It's a great thing here, and Brawley parks are very important to Brawley people, and we have a lot of them. And so just keeping that on top of all that is a daunting task, and I know you're up for that. And we look forward to seeing what we can do about opening things back up again, getting the parks up and going, you know, the maintenance that's required, and then all the other things that go along with this scheduling and everything that goes along with parks. And Parks does a lot more than just the parks here in the city of Brawley. They have a lot of other responsibilities too, such as the veterans banners, such as a lot of other things that we do. So I know we're all looking forward to that, and we appreciate you being here. Congratulations, and we look forward to great things.
Yeah, Rachel, I want to apologize first of all, because our first conversation is instead of saying welcome aboard, I said, hey, I got something for you. So, well, welcome aboard. Very happy to have you, and I do remember you. We're only a couple of years apart from what I recall. I'm class of 96, right? You're 99?
98.
98, okay. So welcome aboard. I'm very happy that you're here. Very excited that, after our conversation, I was more than pleased, and I'm just looking forward to all the things we're going to get done. I'm still the president of the Veterans Honor Roll Committee, so we'll be working with you closely. We have to finish that monument, and we'll discuss other stuff when it comes up. So, thank you.
Very good.
Yeah, no, welcome aboard. I'm excited. It's great to see that we're building a team, and this is no offense to anybody else, but I love the fact that we have a really well-educated staff and leadership team that's being built that has grant writing abilities, communication abilities, all those things that are really important in developing and growing a community, right? And so you're part of the team that's going to help build Brawley and make it better. And so I'm excited to have you on board. And I'll tell you, we're all really excited. This is not something that just happened overnight. We've been developing this plan for months and months and months and months, and you're part of it, right? And you're part of a solution, just like our finance director, just like our city manager, just like, quite frankly, our city attorney, who's been built. We've been doing this for a few years now, but you've seen more of the result in the past few months. I'm really excited to have you on board, and I think, quite honestly, there's a lot to learn about the city, even though you're from Brawley. But even for myself, I've been on city council now going on 14 years, and there's always something to learn about it, right? And I can tell you, there's challenges ahead, but there's just so many great things that we're going to be able to work on together. So I'm excited for it. Welcome aboard. Congratulations to you and your family as well. And we are here to support you. Yeah.
And Rachel, and thank you. It's hard to follow all those words. I mean, pretty much, hit everything. But I do want to sincerely welcome you aboard and thank you for stepping up into the position. And, obviously with the background that was already shared, very exciting. I think, George hit on a lot of things. And I really look out, and the leaders that we've had in our department positions have gotten us to where we're at. And just to add to that already, dedicated team is just, it is hard not to be very optimistic sitting here from a council perspective, because for all intents and purposes, maybe Carla as our witness in the future, we really don't do this for the money, right? We get elected. we're really here because of, I think, the reasons why that, staff and the staff leadership, everybody here tonight is here is because we all care about the same thing, and we get to do this together. So looking forward to really getting behind you and pushing the direction that you take us. So welcome aboard. Congratulations.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
That's good. That's encouraging.
Meeting adjourned.
Yeah, right? That's it. There you go.
Everything else is done.
Right?
Off the mic.
And for those of you who don't know, I'd like to introduce Councilmember Couchman.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem. Mayor Pro Tem Couchman. He's a wonderful person, just in case you don't know.
nice.
Yeah. Hey, I'm just giving you props, man.
You hear a lot about brain drain, where, intelligent people graduate and go to other places instead of staying here in Imperial Valley. And so it is very encouraging to see intelligent people come back and want to give back and contribute to the betterment of the community. So we're really glad to have both of you on board. Tyler kind of started this domino effect, coming in finance and then taking on the role of the city manager at just a very critical point. And so much good has happened in the last few months. It's mind-boggling. But a lot of people out and about don't get to see, they don't get to see that improvement right away. But kind of on the ground floor here, it's really nice to be able to see these improvements begin to happen, and then the outward, the outward results come a little bit later, but we're starting to see those. So I'm very,
And if I could, but they're starting to see it,
Yeah.
something we've been pushing, like social media engagement, and that message is getting out, staff is putting it out there, and I love that. It's just the things, the little wins that we're having are being broadcast, and I think people are starting to recognize, like, hey, things do take place here, it's not always so negative, and we're in a good point right now.
Yeah.
It's a good start, and we're moving forward, so I'm
Yes.
excited, yeah.
and having team leaders and department heads that think outside the box, that it's not just, well, this is how we've always done it, so this is how we're going to continue to do it. But, Tyler is one of those types of people that, he's always looking at things from a different angle to see how can we do things differently, because if we do things the way we've always done them, we're just going to get the same results. So I'm very optimistic about what's going to happen over the next couple of years. So,
We love you, Tyler.
yeah.
Or did I say that out loud?
Sorry for gushing for so long.
I didn't know that.
Okay, we'll move on to item 3, consent agenda. Items are approved by one motion. Council members or members of the public may request consent items be considered separately at a time determined by the mayor.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay,
Second?
got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Consent agenda is approved as written. Moving on to item 4, regular business. 4A, discussion and potential action to approve the proposal from Urban 3 to conduct an economic analysis for the city of Brawley, presented by Tyler Salcido, city manager. Backup is on pages 51 through 64.
So, last meeting, I had presented a proposal for an economic analysis performed by Urban 3. It's a great discussion we had. Councils had requested that somebody from Urban 3 provide some additional information. Before I turn it over to Joe from Urban 3, I would just like to expand. The staff report is basically the same information as last time, but I would like to point out something that happened between that meeting and this meeting. There was 3 opportunities that I had met with developers, business owners, for either expansions or new developments or new businesses, where the information that provided by Urban 3 would have provided great data for us in those discussions, and hopefully after Joe speaks that the council will have the same idea and will approve it. With us today is Joe Minakazi. Did I say that right? Minakazi. He's the principal of Urban 3. He has a little presentation, and we'll turn it over to Joe. Thank you.
Thanks, Tyler. You have a very simple Irish name. Thanks for having me tonight. And a lot of this is actually going to relate back to many more baseball analogies as we go forward. So I'm going to go ahead and hop on with all of that. Let me get started with the show here. Oops. I need to share my screen. Sorry about this. Are you all getting full screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, now we are.
So my company is called Urban 3. We're known for basically creating these visual models, but really what we do is we explain complex economic city issues. And I noticed that I saw the review that as you all talked about this in the last meeting, and you used this quote from Michael Bloomberg. We use this quote all the time. If you're not measuring it, you can't manage it. You can't see what's actually happening with your city. It doesn't look like I'm advancing over there. Are you seeing the slides advance? I'm not seeing
No,
it.
we're still on the
We're
intro
still on the
page.
first.
Yeah, you might have to keep manually clicking each, if it's a team screen share, it might be locking.
It's Zoom, and we've had some issues in the past with Zoom on some of my other meetings with
Yeah,
sharing.
Yeah, let's do it this way.
but you can keep clicking the next screen. do this 8 hours a day.
You do this what?
I can tell you.
Yeah,
I know
we
what it
can't
is.
tell, Donnie. There's some arrows on the side there, what is that?
What about a pop-up book, no? Like,
I don't know. Here's the
Yeah, you gotta
slide,
keep it
that's
on
good.
this.
yeah, just use that screen
Yeah,
and
just
then
use
just
that
go, and then
screen
go
and
to the
keep
next
clicking.
slide, like click on the next slide.
Yeah, well, there's gonna be some animations that I.
Oh,
can't
man,
do.
we need to see those.
But we can do it, we can hack it, let's see.
Let's
what
hack
happens.
it.
Let's see if I can. All right, so, yeah, there's this quote that you all used from Michael Bloomberg, which is, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. This is one of our mantras in how we operate.
I thought that was part of the presentation, that flush.
And just to give you a little back history, I'm from Asheville. I actually work in a real estate developer's office. They're all behind me over here. And I used to work in real estate development with them. And one of the things that we were doing was constantly talking with our community about these buildings that we had that no one was doing anything with. And there was this, we sort of gave up. Our community gave up. We didn't really care. It was a much longer story. The city actually took the bull by the horns, started doing some downtown investment. And my story starts with this guy, Julian Price, who started a for-profit real estate development company with his inheritance. So our company from him was essentially utilizing his inheritance to put 75% of that money into fixing buildings, doing the sticks and bricks, and then we would reserve 25% to start businesses. So we're doing the things that banks wouldn't do, conventional real estate developers wouldn't do, because we could operate with 100% equity and we didn't have to use the banks. We just went ahead and invested in a vegetarian restaurant, a nightclub, doing all of the things to make downtown alive and active, and then do housing. So one of the things that, in doing the story of these buildings, this was one of the buildings that we rehabbed before, and what it looked like, and then after. And these were 400 to 600 square foot apartments. And we were told by the banks and the industry that, you know, no one would live in these things. There's no one that lives in downtown that would want to live in those things. But we realized that the marketplace is diverse and there needs to be an opportunity for people. And this is 99% leased up ever since. And what we found in our conversations about our city, we were deeply involved in our downtown association. Here's another Bloomberg quote that, let me hide these rulers here. Is that if you can't, if in God do we trust, but for everyone else bringing the data. Sorry, let me just hide these guys. And we were having conversations about cities, but we weren't talking about them in economic terms. We weren't thinking about things rationally. And so, and one of the things that we do is we just normalize building discussions and thinking about what a city is or what a county is that, you know, your county's not going to annex the next county over. It's a limited land area, so is your city pretty much. And so is our portfolio. These are all finite crops, if you will, and the buildings are the things we grow. So this is one of the buildings that we rehabbed. Ground story retail, second floor office, upper story residential.
Wow.
And the community actually called us subsidized because the city did the streetscape projects. Thank you, city, for the garbage can, the bike rack, 2 benches, and a street tree. Wonderful investment. Awesome, we appreciate it. But we took the taxable value from $300,000 to $11 million. So
Yeah.
the community just got a 3,500% bump in taxes off our property. So do you have a 401k plan that grows by 3,500%? Wouldn't you like that? That's a return to our community. This isn't our money. This is our community's money. So go out and buy 3,500% more garbage cans. We don't care. And people immediately said right off the bat, they're just like, well, Joe, that's not fair because your building's $11 million and we've got this Walmart that's $20 million. It's like, all right, fair enough. That Walmart is, let's see if this works, is 34 acres versus our building at 0.2 acres.
Uh-huh.
So it's really an unfair way of looking at it if you look at the gross valuation. So per acre, we're producing 100 times more property taxes than what they're producing. Per acre, we're producing double the retail sales. Who would have thought that a furniture store, a tattoo shop, and a beauty salon is double the productivity of a Walmart? But it is. We produce
Tattoo furniture,
more residents per acre than them and also more jobs. So when you stack it up side by side, you can see the productivity of these buildings if you normalize the land use, which is all that you're controlling. As a municipality, you're essentially a very large real estate holding company, real estate development company. I was presenting this in Colorado, and I was like, let me just make it really easy for you people in Colorado. I know this joke will work in California as well. If you could grow an acre of something, what are you going to grow? Are you going to grow marijuana, or are you going to grow wheat? You're going to grow a cash crop. So we understand that with crops, just convert that to buildings. That's a joke. But I'm just making a point that we have this nomenclature of how we talk about this stuff. We just ask the wrong questions of math, and this really isn't complex stuff that we're doing here. This is about normalization of efficiency. So when we talk about cars, we don't talk about cars on a miles per tank basis, do we? Could you imagine if I was like, hey, my truck gets 650 miles per tank? You'd find it laughable. You're just like, no, Joe, tanks are all different sizes. We say miles per gallon, and the numbers just changed. And we should all be driving BMW Acetas at 70 miles per gallon. So that's the reality of what's going on from an efficiency standpoint for cars. If we're doing this for a $3 commodity or a $4 commodity, shouldn't you be doing that for a $40,000 commodity? So my journey on this started, I think I presented at the Smart Growth Conference in 2009 in Seattle, and I presented in front of a bunch of my peers, city planners, architects, landscape architects, people involved in affordable housing and greenway construction. And I stood in front of them with this quote from Mark Twain: "A person who won't read has no advantage over one who can't read." And I had my hand in the air, and I asked all of my peers in my professions, and said, okay, who in this room has read your local tax policy? And are you aware of how it operates in the creation of a tax bill? Not a single person raised their hand, and it just blew my mind. So we're essentially building cities, but we're functionally illiterate on how the pricing structure works. Let that wash over you for a second. This is, but for the finance officer, most people inside city planning have no idea. They're just doing zoning stuff. So tax policy is quite significant, that you all know on council. You have to pay the bills. So here's what's going on in our downtown. Our downtown was worth $100 million back in 1991. We invested, or our parent company invested $15 million into that. This is the value growth of our downtown. It's just a small portfolio of about 150 acres. This is the value growth of just fixing up those upper stories. So we didn't get a new building until 2008. To show you that it's all not all love and roses in Asheville, these are campaign ads from the 1990s. This guy, Chris Peterson, complaining about the city investing $26 million into streetscape projects, parking garages. $26 million is a lot of money. It's like, I get it. I understand why Chris is complaining, but let's do some math for a second. If you invest $26 million here in 1991, and it yields $430 million private sector investment dollars in your community, is investing 26 and yielding $430 million, is that a good return on investment?
Definitely.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, I turn to my community and I say, well, why do we keep on listening to Chris? His data doesn't work. He's entitled to his opinion that $26 million is a lot of money. I get it, but it was a good return on investment, so let's move forward with more returns. And you're not going to stop Chris. Chris has a website now with fire and brimstone. I like that the mayor's getting hit with a lightning bolt. I asked the mayor, I said, is that a liquor drink right there? And she goes, yeah, it should be. And Chris is going to continue with his own belief system. That's all right. But we have to bring information to the table. We have to realize that what a city is it's a finite boundary of land that has to be managed. You all are portfolio managers for a really big real estate development project. And if you look up the word incorporate in the Oxford American Dictionary, it says to constitute a company, a city, or other organization as a legal corporation. So by law, my city council is just a bigger version of our real estate development company. It's a corporation, right? And it's not just your city, it's your county, it's your state, and it's our country. Joe Biden said this on the Stephen Colbert Show in 2016. The United States is the largest corporation in the world. And I went ahead and looked it up. There's the U.S. code that says it. So basically, we're a federal corporation. We're not a capitalistic corporation. We're just a corporation that has to operate with dollars and cents. So in my city, at $14 billion of taxable value is 6 times the value of Ted Turner. So does Ted Turner just wake up every day and look at Facebook? Of course not. Ted Turner is looking at numbers and understanding how the function of his business So why don't people see that? Well, a lot of it is just because we're caught in habits on how the way that we talk about cities. What we do is like, we think about things like an economic MRI. If I can show you in your brain what's going on with your creative thought process in green versus your brainstem activity in blue, can I do an economic MRI of my community? So the way that people typically look at real estate is this. This is my county. So I have non-taxable in gray. Green is low value, purple is high value. So this is a big federal park right here. It's all gray. It doesn't pay me taxes. I don't care about it. Let's just be blunt. I've got green is low value, purple is high value. So this big purple dot right here, that's the Biltmore estate. That's America's largest house. So, you know, that house is worth $100 million, but it's not a fair way of talking about it because that house is also 180,000 square feet and it's sitting on 8,000 acres of land. So that's like having the biggest gas tank and bragging about your models. So rather than total value, let's say value per acre, and the map just changed. Now I'll just show it to you in 3D. So this is a way to show our community at a taxable level a relative productivity map of where your revenue is coming from. So this is our downtown right here shooting off the map. Now what we get with in our politics of our community, this is again my county, I got friends out here in Fort Fairview that think they're paying a lot of taxes. And you know, they're paying a lot more taxes than people further out here in Hickory Nut Gap. But we're paying a tremendous amount more taxes and county taxes than they are. Yet they have an attitude about what our city is all about. And we showed them this model, and we're just like, you're getting the money from, the county is getting all of its money from our downtown. And incidentally, this is a little village of about 12,000 people called Black Mountain. You can see its little downtown popping up right there as well. So some other examples, I talked with Tyler about maybe some examples that would be similar to you all. Durango is a good example. It's in Southwest, it's way isolated in Southwest Colorado. And Colorado cities operate off retail taxes similar to California cities. And here's the property tax model in Colorado or Durango. Here's downtown. This little leg right here, this little strip in South Durango, that's the mall, the Home Depot, the Walmart, all that's down here. Very low property tax value. Retail tax, where you think you'd make it up, well, they don't. Downtown still wins in retail taxes. Now, their downtown is very healthy. It's very well, very dense, a lot of businesses, and all of those small transactions are crushing it. And then total productivity, anything that we can get our hands on, jobs, anything we can get our hands on, if we can visualize it, we'll model it. And our goal is to give the audience an apples-to-apples understanding of what's going on, or apples to oranges, if that's what they are. Incidentally, in Durango, we have these two businesses. This guy, Peter, who has a bookstore, and Tim has a coffee shop, but for some reason Tim sells all sorts of kitchen equipment too. They opened their books to us and they wanted to see a similar model comparing them against the Walmart. So this is the footprint comparison of these two retail shops versus Walmart retail. This is the property tax production, so who would have thought that these two little small businesses are 15 times the property tax production of a Walmart, 7 times the retail taxes, and also a whole lot more jobs. So this is where you can see the data and you can ask some questions. Well, obviously we can see who's more productive, but who on this page, the blue side or the gray side, who's hiring the local website designer, the local attorney, the local accountant? Is it the small business or is it the chain store? It's probably going to be the small business. Who's hiring, or who's making contributions to the Little League team? Is it going to be the right or the left? Who's paying their employee? They're all retail sector jobs. Who's paying their retail sector employee more per hour? Is it going to be these two businesses or is it going to be the Walmart? It's probably going to be these two small businesses. It may be a nickel more, but it's going to be a little bit more. So when we make choices without understanding the data, sometimes we inadvertently harm ourselves in our own communities. Yes, it's cheaper to get a roll of toilet paper in Walmart, but you're essentially paying that in a transaction through a lower tax rate and lower economic spin in your community. So it's just about making it visual for people so they can see it. Another example I wanted to bring, I'm giving you all 3, and we can open up for discussion after that. This is Brevard, North Carolina. This is a tiny little town. At 8,000 people. It hasn't changed much from this postcard. It is Mayberry. The mayor, he goes by the name Mayor Jimmy. He's been mayor for 30 years. He owns the hardware store right next to City Hall. He just walks across the property line.
Jimmy?
Super funny guy, but we did his model, and you could see where the downtown is. And he goes, well, I guess I can tell what's going on now. And he said to us, he goes, well, we're doing this, we have to pay for this stormwater pipe. Could you do the same kind of modeling for all the stormwater that we have to build? Because it looks like nothing's the same. And I'm like, you're right, everything is different when you look at real estate. So we made a model of their tax production, it just is a monochrome, and then we did a runoff model of all the stormwater runoff in the entire town. So even in little places, you can, again, it's just how do you make this visual for people so they can understand it? And yes, in the downtown, there's a lot of stormwater runoff. You see all the stormwater runoff that goes all the way down the strip to where the Walmart is. So Walmart is a very large impervious surface, a big box with a big parking lot. So is downtown. So we're going to be honest about it. But when you drop this model over the tax model, you can see the tax model for downtown actually penetrates and pays taxes versus the Walmart. So here's the side view. They're mountain people, so we did a mountain profile of the taxes. Here's the stormwater runoff, and here's the difference.
Wow.
So this is where you can see that downtown is actually doing all right. The parking lots outside of downtown, not doing so well. Very high runoff, very low taxes. But out here at the Strip, you're getting very low tax revenue and huge amounts of runoff. So big expense that the community's picking up for very little return. And maybe you could do a different policy in the downtown where you have a use it or lose it or charge a different rate. You certainly shouldn't penalize the buildings that are paying into your portfolio as well. So just getting people to understand that not all impervious surfaces are created equal, so don't charge them the same rates based on your stormwater fee. And then so that's your revenues, some costing stuff, and let's put the two of them together. This is a full ROI, return on investment, that we did with Chuck Marone. I don't know if you know Chuck. He has this organization called Strong Towns, and he's a civil engineer. And we did I'm just going to give you the highlights of this. This is Lafayette, Louisiana. They spread out into the swamps. That's super expensive. Here's their downtown. Here's their some new urbanism that they built out here. But they generally spread out into the swamps. As we were measuring their pavement, and this is going to be a little nerdy, but I think Carla's going to dig this. As we were studying their pavement, one of the things that we saw is that we're going to charge everybody based on your location of choice. So if you live way out here, we know that you live on this cul-de-sac right there, we're going to charge everybody on that cul-de-sac a piece of their road for that cul-de-sac because you're the only ones that use it. But this road here, Johnson Road, a lot of people use that, so that's going to be dispersed more through the system. We're essentially creating a pricing structure to figure it out. One of the things that, in conversations with the finance officer called the roads assets. And Chuck and I just laughed. I said, if I've got a computer, a truck, or a piece of real estate in business, those are called assets. How is a road an asset? Well, it's because they're following standards of the CAFR standard and the Gatsby, which, okay, fine, follows the standards, but it doesn't cash flow that way. The road is you can't sell your roads to Los Angeles. Your roads are liabilities. You're stuck with them forever. So we modeled it for them. And let's see, this is taking their roads from 1960 and putting a reserve account. So if we have an air conditioner in this office here, I know that air conditioner has a useful life. When I put that air conditioner in, I reserve a piece of rent for future replacement of that air conditioner. And if you did the same thing for roads, once a developer gives you roads, you're stuck with it forever. So the roads that you're fixing today were built 50 years ago. So where do you get the money to pay for that road replacement? If you had a reserve account, you could pay for it. So this is the reserve account of accumulated debt that they should have on their roads in red. The blue is the actual money that they have to fix roads. So let me ask you a question. Do you have enough blue to pay for the red? And is it going to get any better as time goes on? No. And this is the situation that they're currently going through. Let me make it easier. This is the road obligation in red. This is the revenue that they have to pay for the roads. And the scary thing is they started taking out bonds, and the bonding company is skimming off the top half their money. So it's like taking a credit card out to pay for your mortgage. It doesn't make economic sense to do that. And it just kicks the can down the road. So you can't, you're not going to be able to afford the city. So this is the whole city floating in the lake, and we sent everybody a bill for where their houses are in red, and then green is what everybody's paying in taxes. So if this is your cash flow model of your revenues above water and your expenses below water, and you net one against the other, so you have what's in the black and what's in the red, this is what it looks like. From the side view, this is it in 3D. And when you take this and drop it on the floor, you can see where they're bleeding their money all over the place. If you drop this on the floor, this is what it looks like, where you can see all of the red stuff. If anybody's colorblind, this is the colorblind model. You can see what's net positive and you can see what's net negative. Now, interestingly, the response from the community was kind of predictable, but somewhat funny. One of the guys said to me, he goes, well, people really want to live out here, Joe. And I was like, well, that's great. This is what you're subsidizing people to live out there. Just be honest with them. And if you can afford it, great. But right now you're telling me you're broke. You're talking about filing for bankruptcy. Maybe you should start to be honest with people. You just got too much stuff. So this is a nerdy chart, but basically in 1949 they had 34,000 people, 5 feet of pipe per person, 2.4 fire hydrants per thousand. They grew their population to 121,000 people. They grew their feet of pipe per person to 50 feet of pipe per person and 51 fire hydrants per thousand.
Wow.
So they grew their population 350%. They grew their liability 1,000 and 2,000%. And their response was, we got rich, we got oil money out of the Gulf, and I'm like, all right, here's our household income back then, and they were poor, and now they're richer than we are in Asheville. But that's only 160% growth in revenue. It's 1,000 and 2,000% growth in liability. That's not good. So if you don't know what to fix, if you don't, how do you know what to fix if you don't know what's wrong? So part of this is just getting people to see the data and understand that. And we don't just, we don't do bloodletting to get rid of tumors. We operate cities. We should be operating with cities with the same scientific knowledge and information. One last one, we did a project over in Lancaster. And I don't know if y'all know where Lancaster's up and over the mountain from Los Angeles. They're not doing so great. They should have a much more robust downtown than what they have for 166,000 people. But they generally just stretch themselves out. And you can see that stretch. It doesn't really produce a whole heck of a lot of value. It's a very low plateau. But the crazy thing was they have 953 miles of road. That could go, essentially stretch them from Los Angeles to Portland. That's a lot of roads. So every 50 years you have to rebuild that road. So the way that works is, here's all their roads in a timeline from 1910 to basically World War II. They didn't build a lot of roads, and after World War II, they built a whole lot of roads in 1953. Well, those roads come back for their first rebuild in 1983. And when people were hit with that capital expense, they let out more roads. So that means you're doubling this now. So the rebuild of all of this looks something like this. This is the first wave of construction. That comes back for a second wave rebuild. And then they started building more roads because they were looking for more money. So they let out more development, they annexed more land. Well, now it's starting to capitalize on stuff. So we didn't add, oops, sorry, it's challenging. We stopped them in 2016 and didn't add another road from then until infinity. And you could see that just by not adding roads, it keeps on growing and higher and higher. Now, this is not talking about adding inflation or anything. The cost of asphalt keeps on climbing, probably around 70% in the expense. So it's just making people see that you can't build your way out of this if it's something that's building collapse into your system. And if you take all of the money that they have available for roads, they can only afford to carry about 50% of what they've got in the ground. So we just showed them a map and flushed their money into the system. And we said, y'all need to make harder choices. You might want to let some of these roads out here revert to dirt. Just let it go. You just can't afford to fix everything because you don't have enough cash. So just to close, this is one of my favorite quotes from Malcolm Gladwell. The key to good decision making is not knowledge, it's understanding. We're swimming in the former and we're desperately lacking in the latter. We've got a lot of information. And the key thing about analyzing information is you want to analyze what's important. You want to stick to the key metrics that are important. Actually, back to how we started this meeting, think of Moneyball. You know, it's all about looking at the metrics of making good baseball happen. And Moneyball is all about looking at different data. So we view our role as geo-accountants. We're just going to put your money on a map so you can see it. It's your community. You make your choices. And like your accountant, your accountant doesn't care if you buy a boat, right? Your accountant cares if you can afford a boat. But our job is to put visuals out there for folks.
There you go,
so
man.
they can understand
It's a legend
information.
right there.
Yeah. I would recommend Chuck's book, if you've never heard of Strong Towns. In this one book, he pretty much sums up what every community is dealing with right now. And, yeah, we're here to do some math. So that's it.
1, 2.
Awesome.
Any questions for Joe?
I thought that was a great presentation.
Yeah.
You know, I'll tell you, I've sat through probably 700 meetings on city council, ICTC, other commissions that I've been a part of or were being presented. I wouldn't say all of those meetings have presentations, but many of them do. And this is one that captivated me and held my attention, and it has good information. And it's really, it goes to really the center of what we talk about, because a lot of what we do on city council when we're making decisions, it's based, not always, you know, obviously we have finance, but a lot of what our policies and things that we set are based on really anecdotal evidence and kind of just stories and feelings and gut and whatever. I mean, but that's not data, you know, and I do appreciate the fact that there's information we can gather about our own city that we don't necessarily know in detail. That's really important. I'm just afraid that once we sign this commitment, that Joe will be talking about us to, you know, when he's pitching other
Right,
cities.
yeah.
He's like, oh man, Brawley's got it all wrong. These guys, they don't know what they're doing, you know, but joking aside, I think it was really good information. So I appreciate the clarity, Joe. And I do like your hairstyle, just so you know. I do appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.
I'm working hard at it.
Hey, me too. I'm working hard at it too.
I will say this, the Lancaster people are super awesome. The way that they operate their government is like a team of commandos, and they took this information and basically altered their really fast acting. So they altered how they did their impact fees for their water system. They also have a very credible solar energy program, though. I highly recommend you steal that
Fair enough.
program, what they're doing there.
And he thinks on the fly, he thinks quickly. Even, I don't know if you guys noticed his edit while he was presenting.
Yeah.
He removed some text that shouldn't have been there during this presentation. He's a quick study, this guy, you know, so he thought quickly. I didn't even mention Lancaster. He knew who I was talking about, so there you go.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, this is, I think it's one of those things where you can have so much data in front of you that you can't interpret it, but it looks like what Urban 3 does is distills it down to the stuff that you just really need to know for making good decisions quickly. And I have read some out of the Strong Towns book, you know, things that are just, you know, aesthetics about cities and the way they're put together and what makes them more livable and walkable and all of that. But yeah, I think this is information that would be very helpful to have for the city manager, for the planning commission, for the planning department. Like George said, a lot of times decisions are made just based on, well, what's the developer telling us? You know, they're selling us a pie in the sky plan here, and that we're going to make all kinds of money, or it won't cost us more than we're going to bring in revenue from it. So, you know, I think this system will be very helpful. I did have a couple of questions that may be too, I don't know, nebulous, but Joe, do you have some quick examples of cities that have, you've mentioned Lancaster taking this and running with it and quickly making some changes to how they were doing planning, and do you have other examples like that of cities like Brawley that have taken your recommendations, taken the data, and made changes to the way they were doing things, and what that netted them? How long did it take to turn around economically?
Let's see. Rancho Cucamonga, we were part of their general plan process. This is over at Rancho. And, let's see. We had done Rancho, and Riverside. Stretch this out a little bit. And one of the things that you can see from this map pretty clearly, look at Redlands over here popping up. Redlands is not a big place,
Right.
but it's got a real downtown, and you can see it popping up. Then it flattens out into a yellow. Rancho has much higher housing values, and Eastvale, which is like right here, Eastvale's right here, which is great. In California with Prop 13, when you get a new transaction, it's gonna pump up higher than somebody that's been in that house 20 years. So if you look at Rancho, up here you see this green field, that's older housing, and you see all this hot fire over here, that's newer housing, which is great, but then it's gonna get trapped in Prop 13 and get stuck in amber. Your downtowns are gonna be a different animal, it's gonna function differently, and Rancho never they've tried downtowns, but they didn't really put their shoulder behind it. And one of the things that we showed them was that's the failure, that their Redlands is eating their lunch. So, there could be a downtown in here somewhere. Corona's doing all right, but Rancho's a much bigger place. The thing that blew their mind, let's see if it's in here, was this. This is the Inland Empire. This is the Inland Empire. 4.6 million people, 27,000 acres. That's Charleston, South Carolina.
Wow.
It's 4.9 million people in 30, so it's the same population, same square miles, but of 3 prime cities of Charleston, Columbia, Greenville. Who's the big winner here in Rancho Cucamonga? So this is just by saying no to things, or by saying yes to different kinds of patterns of development, you're going to end up with economic results of that. So when you look at their downtown, now this is the Inland Empire, you got 3 million people. We happen to be doing Minneapolis, St. Paul. This is 1.8 million people. You can tell where downtown Minneapolis is. So this has less people in the Minneapolis, St. Paul metro, but you can see 2 distinct downtowns, actually a third one over here in Wayzata. And what do you got going on over here? So we just to show them the scale of this, we dropped Minneapolis into their scale. We're like, y'all could have done that somewhere in here. But you chose not to because you considered yourself a suburb of Los Angeles. You let Los Angeles be the downtown. Why didn't you ever do one out here? And remember, Minneapolis, St. Paul is half the people that they've got in the Inland Empire. So this was their economic opportunity loss, what they missed. So we showed them, we generally see cities as their downtown from an area standpoint is 2.5% of the footprint of the city, 1.5% of the value of the city. So they're, from an area to value ratio, it's less than a 1-to-1. These are Durham, Chapel Hill, and our city of Asheville is 1-to-6. You generally want to have something more than a 1-to-4. And you can see the potencies of these downtowns popping up. So we showed them this is where they currently are, this is what they should be at in their community. So they missed the opportunity of being a $4 billion downtown, given their scale and population, when they currently underbuilt themselves to 400 million. So when you think about the standpoint of you're managing the city and you need revenue, downtowns are the things, the commodities that give you your potency. And they chose, by saying no to things or saying yes to certain things, they have economic consequences. This really dialed them in. It made a lot of sense to them. And in fact, Matt Burris, the assistant city manager, gave me a really fun, interesting story. This made such a dramatic effect. And one of the counselors is running around saying, I want purple spikes everywhere. She got it. But when they had a conference with, I think it was a steel company, wanted a tax handout. And they said, we give you $6 million or $600,000 in retail taxes. Could you give us a tax break? And Matt ran an analysis of that steel plant versus other small businesses, and the small businesses were many times more tax productive than the big steel plant. And he told the steel plant to take a hike. He goes, it felt weird. I've never thought I'd be saying that to $600,000, but we're getting so much more potency out of little businesses rather than this big facility that's hogging all of our land. So that's an effect of where this model made them change the way that they just ask questions about things.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Joe, thanks again for the presentation. A question for you, and I noticed like the populations that you're talking about within your presentation, some of these communities are much larger than us here in Brawley, and so there may be not as many data points here in the city. Do you see that being a challenge for you because our population is smaller and there may not be as much available data?
Well, you'll have the data. This is, like I said, this is a 7,000 population community here. This is Brevard. You know, we've done big places, small places. Basically what we're going to be looking at is what your county shape files, or what they keep as a map, and then how are they charging taxes. We're going to get your sales tax data, and we talk with we do that for, there's certain things that we can disclose, that we're allowed to disclose, but we'll follow that confidentiality.
Okay, well, thank you.
Here's Rancho's sales tax production, and then we stack it on top of their property tax, so you can see, you know, they've got a Costco that's killing it. That's, you know, it is what it is. It's like, all right, it's a cheap building, but you're gonna get a lot of retail sales out of that. And we're agnostic about that. It's just about creating these data points and sharing it with you. But we'll have that data for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's important. You know, there's a lot of theory, anecdote, conjecture as to where most of our sales tax or property tax comes from in a small town like a small city like Brawley. And I think this will be an eye opener if we go forward with this, because I think a lot of people feel like, well, yeah, Walmart corridor, that's where we're going to have our biggest sales tax and possibly property tax bumps, but we may be surprised based on what you've shown us tonight.
Yeah, I will say this. You know, this isn't to say that I'm not bashing Walmart. It's just actually, I usually have this in the show. I'll go ahead and pull it out. One of the weirdest presentations I ever presented was at the International Association of Tax Assessing Officers. Could you imagine hanging out with 3,000 tax assessors? It was the weirdest conference.
It's a party.
Yeah, it makes the planning conference feel like Burning Man. This was unbelievable. This guy got up and did the keynote presentation on how cheap Walmarts are. I'm in the back of the room drinking my coffee, saying to myself, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. This is brilliant. This guy's getting all of his property tax lowered in one meeting, because tax assessors are agnostic. If it's a cheap throwaway building, it's a cheap throwaway building. Now, I'm trained as an architect, so I'm having a coronary. I'm like, how is he getting away with this? Why does no one care? So I went up to the microphone and I asked him, I said, Mr. Terrell, what's the useful life of one of your buildings? And he honestly shot back. He goes, 15, 20 years, maybe 25. We designed the building to depreciate as fast as possible, and then we'll build another one because we think the buildings you throw away, we don't want to pay taxes. And then it's all about the commodity of goods, and cheap building does it just fine. We'll just build another building and start the depreciation cycle again because we maximize that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I tell people, I'm like, look, this is your corporation. They are a much smaller player in your corporation. And make sure you pencil that out. And if it's a 15-year commitment that you want, that's the life cycle of a cat. That's what you're going to get. And just make sure it's good for you. The average Walmart consumes more in police services than it pays the property taxes. Did you all know that?
No.
It makes sense, right? Yeah, because they're always there. Yeah.
I see them out there all the
They have a
time.
policy that they don't charge, they don't ask people for receipts. So particularly in low wealth communities, there's an incentive to go in there and steal something and then bring it back and get a cash exchange for it. So that's the way Walmart calls that leakage. What they lose in Walmart, what they lose would be the 4th largest retailer in the entire country. And they just write it off as a loss in the business.
That's crazy.
Again, don't hate the player, hate the game. But
There you
have to
go.
understand the game. game to play.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
Don't hate the play, I hate the
Yeah,
game, bro.
That's the takeaway from this. Well, that was very informative, Joe. We appreciate you coming back on this and giving us some more detailed information. I suppose we can move forward with we've had the discussion. Now we're at the point of action to approve the proposal from Urban 3 to conduct an economic analysis for the city of Brawley. Do I have a motion for or against that?
This is George. I'll make a motion to approve the item.
Okay, have a motion?
Second.
Got a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? All right, the motion carries. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. We look forward to the
Thank you,
the
Joe.
information. Thank
Yeah,
you.
definitely.
Look forward to it too. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Tyler. Yeah.
Okay, in the moment we've all been waiting for, item 4B, an update on City of Brawley declaration of local emergency as a result of COVID-19 pandemic.
Everything's better. Good night.
This is the overall outlook
Things better.
presented by our fire
Enough
chief,
said.
Mike York.
Much less interesting, maybe, than our previous.
Yeah, slides,
Yeah.
models.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, city staff, Mike York, Fire Chief. Tonight, I'm start with our case counts. If any of you have been diligently following the Imperial County COVID dashboard, you may be aware that the numbers across the board, with very few exceptions, have been reduced, including like total tested and things like that normally would not reduce. The reason for that is the Imperial County has adjusted all of their numbers downward due to aligning their data methodology with the state and federal government. So, as I reported multiple times, the reason we've seen some discrepancies between our current situation and what the state's reporting is the way the data is collected and dispersed. And one of the major players is whether or not inmate populations are included. So the numbers I'm going to give you tonight are actually less than our previous meeting. So starting off, we have a total tested number of 117,896 individuals for our county. Total negative, 93,173. Total positive since the beginning of the pandemic is 24,723. As of today, we have active 140 cases within our county, only 23 of which are currently hospitalized, and of those 23, 8 are in ICU. Those numbers are much farther downward than previous. These are not due to methodology. These are due to, we're hopefully seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Surge capacity utilization is at 0% as of today. We have 88 available surge capacity beds in our county. And ventilators across the county, COVID or otherwise, we're using 12 of our 168 ventilators. Within the county, 23,947 persons have recovered. Unfortunately, a number that did not go down was the death count, which as of today was reported 636. Again, if you were very attentive, you'll notice that number spiked. That was not due specifically to a spike in deaths of COVIDs. That was due to a delay in processing the death certificates over several weeks, and so the numbers were put in all at once. Unfortunately, we do have those deaths, but it is good news that that wasn't a large,
Chief, and they're still having those long delays, right?
My understanding is they are approved, but there is a delay in processing paperwork for death certificates, as well as coroner duties as well. As reported back in December, our daily positive case count peaked at 454 persons in a single day. That was our highest numbers throughout the beginning of the pandemic. Our latest numbers are available from the 27th of February. We had 3 in one day. So very good news on that. In the 92227 zip code, we've had a total of 4,048 persons that were COVID positive, with 88 deaths tabulated to our area. Looking to our neighbors in the east in Yuma County with a similar population, they've tested 134,000 persons. They've confirmed 36,455, and they've recorded 793 deaths. Mexicali, our neighbors to the south, 16,416 positive, 13,292 recovered. Unfortunately, they've recorded 2,689 deaths, and as of today, they reported 122 active cases and being treated. The good news, blueprint for safer economy. We've been in widespread pretty much since the beginning of the pandemic. Whether or not the stay-at-home order was in effect, we've been in the widespread or purple category. The next step up is red or substantial. To qualify for substantial, we need to have a 4 to 7 persons per 100,000 case count, and we need to have our positivity rate between 5 and 8%. As of today, the Imperial County was at 5.7 per 100,000 and a 3.3% positivity rates, the best numbers we've been able to report since the beginning of the pandemic. Our health equity metric is 5.2%, which means that if we continue these numbers, if we maintain or improve, Wednesday, March the 10th, we have the ability to move to the red tier for the first time.
Awesome.
Fingers crossed. Another bit of good news, the alternative care site at IBC, all patients were discharged at the end of last week. That site has been placed in a warm status with no patients. If we need to, they can turn that back on again, but they're anticipating that that will be the last that we need that site. Here in Brawley, Brawley Fire and EMS response. Our EMS response for COVID positive and suspected COVID patients has tapered off. 283 calls for service since the pandemic started, 141 that were COVID positive. Those numbers are both up 2 from the previous report 2 weeks ago. So it's a combination of things, most notably that more people are treating at home and more people are treating at home that are not having to activate the 911 system for transports. COVID-19 vaccination, we are progressing through the tiers. We have now reached EMS, law enforcement, healthcare workers. We're beginning to see educators, and of course all of our 65 and older communities are spread throughout the tiers. Here locally, week before last, right after our last city council meeting, we were approached by personnel from the Imperial County Department of Public Health, and they were interested in using the Brawley Airport as a vaccination clinic site targeting essential farm workers. Plans were began, and then there was some timing issues. They pulled back on it, but it still very much remains an alternative for them, and we're looking forward to working with them in the near future to vaccinate that very important population in our community. If there's any other questions, I will do my best to answer them.
Chief, I do have a question. It seems like this positivity rate and patients per 100,000 is different than what you see on the dashboard, on the county dashboard daily. It seems like it's lower than what you see on that.
Yes, so these are the metrics that the state is collecting. The Imperial County is, with that data adjustment, is moving closer in line for several months now. I've been reporting both the county and the state metrics. I'm just reporting the county metrics now because we should be on the same page.
Okay.
Hopefully. Regardless of which, before we can submit a letter of attestation, we have to go by state numbers.
Okay, good deal. Anybody else got a question? Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
that
Thank you.
update, and thank you for having it on paper. That was easy to follow along.
Otherwise, I'd have to take notes.
Yeah.
Would
Okay.
you really, Sam?
I was, every meeting, dude, every meeting.
Moving on to item 4C, discussion and potential action to approve amended fiscal year 2021-2022 budget calendar presented by our interim finance director, Carla Romero. Backup is on pages 65 through 70.
I am much shorter. Let me see if I can get this open here. Good evening again, council members. My name is Carla Romero, interim finance director here for the city of La Quinta.
Oh, City of Brawley.
I'm sorry, city of Brawley. Oh my gosh, I have to get that out of my mouth. Sorry.
Put $1 in the swear jar.
Get sued by the
I know.
We have a golf course.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Sorry. I'm
We're
here
kidding.
tonight. I'm here tonight to propose some amended dates. I did hear the council meeting, the last council meeting that you had, and I know there's a lot of discussion And I'd like for you to kindly consider some alternative dates. This is actually my 11th budget that I will be preparing for a city, and I will tell you that no two budgets are alike. Every single one is different. Every city is different. Every year brings us different challenges and opportunities to communicate with the public. And so I'd like to take that opportunity not only to learn internally what is happening, which is quite a learning curve. Just because I've worked for city government for 14 years does not mean that I can apply every one of those skill sets to this particular city overnight. And so internally, I've already had some budget discussions with some of the other team members at the executive level, and just really kind of picking their brain, wanting to know what their current challenges are, what their accomplishments have been, what their goals are for the next year's budget, because we want to be able to quantify those, kind of like what Joe was saying, right? The budget isn't just a bunch of numbers. The budget is actually a path forward. It's what are you going to do with those resources, and what are we going to get out of them? And so when I give budget presentations, I like to quantify all of those things within the presentation. And I will say that it's very, very complicated, right? A city budget's complex, and making it sound like it's simple and understandable to the layman's person or just anybody in general, which is really important, is the most complicated part, and it takes time. To read like these huge complex documents. If you just look at like gas tax revenue, it's like a 35-page document that gets updated every year. But to translate that into like 2 sentences or 3 sentences that really matter takes time. And so one of the other things that we're doing is not only do I have a learning curve, but the entire finance department has a new software that we're implementing. And this isn't just impacting our department, it's impacting everyone. I have worked with the system that we're implementing for the last 5 years, and that's great. But it also means that we don't want to enter data into the old system, because then we're just duplicating efforts, right? Where after July 1st, we'll be working in the new system, and so we should implement the budget in the new system and produce the budget document in the new system. But all of that takes time. There are customized reports we have to prepare. We have to verify that data. And I don't want to reinvent the wheel of the budget, but every year the goal would be to make it better. Just a little bit better every year, a little bit more understandable. So maybe this year it's that we explain to you what every single one of the funds means, incorporate that. I'd love to incorporate some charts, some graphs, just be able to extract information for quarterly reports so that we continue to be transparent to the community. And the proposed schedule does add an additional study session. I love to talk about the budget, and my goal would be that by the second meeting in June, you are so tired of talking about the budget that you just want to adopt it. That doesn't mean that we have to have the additional budget study session. We do have labor negotiations that are ongoing, and we may need that additional time in order to incorporate those numbers or projections into the budget, and so that's why I did add a third budget study session. Doesn't mean we have to have it. That is up to the sitting council. We talked about internal verification of projections, a lot of community engagement. I want to encourage the community to participate in our budget discussions. My proposal would be to add like a microsite within the finance department website, just to have the data of the budget. We don't want people clicking away and going to every single council meeting and what was presented. And so in order to we'd create a microsite, we'd have all the meeting dates, we'd have all the links to the presentations and the documents that are presented at that particular meeting, and hope that the public reaches out and says, I want to know more. How can I get involved? Or, my particular area of the city is in need of X, Y, Z, and I'd love to have those conversations with people. And I know Tyler does too. So let's see.
He loves it.
So these are the proposed public meeting dates. They would be condensed. They would start May 4th. These are all regular city council meetings. The first one would be focused on the general fund and all of the internal service funds. We are looking at possibly amending the internal service funds too, and so we have to go through that methodology and verification process as well in the next 30 days or so. And again, with an outside consultant to make sure that we are incorporating those proportionally correctly into the budget. The second budget study session would be the enterprise and the special funds, and then again, the third one would encompass all of the funds and any updates or any further considerations based on those first two study sessions. And every one of them would build upon each other. So just because the second one doesn't say general fund doesn't mean that if something happens in that first budget study session and you want me to bring back something, we'll bring it back. and we'll talk about that during the second one or the third one.
If I could interrupt and just ask a question. With respect to the proposed dates that you have there, and without forcing the topic, and I don't want to rush it certainly, but do you have an idea of the length of time that you'll present? Is it an hour and a half that you would need, 2 hours? What do you think you would need? I know it's hard to tell, but,
Typically, it hasn't been that long. It's only been about 30 minutes, maybe 40.
okay.
Just because, again, I try to make it really, really simple to understand, but then allow time in between.
Perfect.
And then before as well. So we have a lot of data we're going through, and Tyler and I are talking all the time, and I'm asking a lot of questions.
Good. You're going to condense the information. And the reason
right.
I asked the question is just in the event that we needed more time, like start the meeting sooner, that
Right.
kind of thing. So, perfect. Thank you.
Yes, I think that would be the recommendation. Maybe I heard at 4 o'clock at the last meeting, and that would be sufficient time.
Mm-hmm.
5 o'clock would be fine too. I think we could easily do that.
Okay.
We could always break in between if, and then
Yes.
Yeah.
start the meeting back.
Absolutely.
And Harlan, just in the past, even, before we even had, specific dedicated meetings just for that, talk as well. But, I think over the, past couple years, we've kind of combined it. And so I think council's open to whatever suggestion. I think you're pretty specific about the proposals, so.
Yes, I think somebody mentioned it, and they were very astute. I don't remember who it was, I'm sorry, but the public is used to our meeting dates, right? And so in order to get that public engagement, it's always
Yeah.
best to have it on the actual meeting days that
Yeah.
the council regularly meets.
Okay,
I think that's best.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we want to then plan to start at 5, or do you want to keep it at 4 and have a break in between?
That's fine. Whatever
We
the council,
can-
I'll make it work for,
We can
usually.
do that, but being that it's still early March and Carla's digging in, we could even leave that open.
Yeah, we
to
could leave it
a-
open till the
a-
next-
Another meeting
yeah.
if you think, we
Yes, that
I'm-
might be the
4
best.
o'clock is fine with
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if we move it closer to 5, we may get more public engagement than if we have it at 4.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm saying is people get off, but they can arrange to get off, and the later we probably start, the better off we are, if we want that public engagement in those meetings. So 5 might be better, but I'm
If-
open to,
if they
I'm open
arrive
to
here,
thinking of, if they arrive.
It
And
might be
we-
over Zoom.
And we haven't had a lot of public engagement in the past. So I think you'll see a lot from Facebook, from social media, from those types of things. But you won't see necessarily the public engagement in the actual meeting where they come and sit down. And with COVID, it's probably even more impacted by that. So I'm not sure the timing is an issue, but if it wasn't COVID, we're just having the meetings, it might be better to start it later rather than earlier. I just want to get done with the information though, within the
Yeah.
time frame.
Right.
And it also depends on what else is on the agenda, how robust each agenda is going to wind up
Yes,
being. And we may not know
yes.
that until, we get closer to those dates,
Well,
so
I guess we can agree on the dates and then we can.
Yeah,
agree
the
on
dates
when-
are
the
fine.
dates are fine with
And
me.
maybe we talk more about the timing, yeah.
All right.
We want to support you however we can,
Thank
that,
you.
so that you have ample time to put everything together, because I know, we all see how complex this is going to be this year with all the extra, trying to uptake a new software system and
Well
get
said,
everyone on
yeah.
board with that, so.
Well said. We have faith in you as well,
Yeah.
so, and, you're the expert, so.
Okay,
Appreciate that. Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
Carlos.
okay.
All right, item 4D.
And we'll forgive the Joaquin thing, we'll forgive.
We'll forget
I'm
the
gonna work
key
on
to-
that.
It'll take some time, right?
It'll take us some time.
Oh,
we need
yes,
to vote
okay.
on it?
I guess we need to take a vote on that.
Oh, we want to vote on this?
Yeah,
on the meeting?
I need a motion to approve the amended fiscal year 2021-2022 budget calendar.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay,
Second.
we got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Motion carries. Item 4D, discussion and potential action to approve resolution number 2021-, resolution of the City Council of the City of Brawley, California, approving the application for statewide park development and community revitalization program grant funds. Proposition 68, presented by Rachel Fonseca, our new Parks and Recreation Manager. Backup is on pages 71 through 74.
Good evening, members of the council. Rachel Fonseca, Parks and Recreation Manager. Before I get into the details of the resolution, I would like to provide a bit of background on the Hinojosa Park grant process and where we currently are in the process. So on July 1st, 2020, the California Department of Parks and Recreation Office of Grants opened its Round 4 grant application process with a closing date of March 12, 2021. At the direction of Tyler Salcido, City Manager, city staff began the process of filling out the application. The first step consisted of identifying the project site, which would be determined by various eligibility requirements. The two main requirements were that the project have a median household income of less than $56,982 or half a mile radius of less than 3 acres of park space per 1,000 residents. After reviewing the various city parks against the eligibility requirements, it was determined that Hinojosa Park met the criteria and would be a suitable site for the competitive grant. Shortly after selecting the site, the city staff requested feedback from the residents or the users of the park on the recreational features and amenities that the users would like to see. They did this through a Zoom meeting, surveys, on-site voting, and a design activity. The results came in, and they included requests for a new stage, new play equipment, additional handball courts, additional horseshoe pits, renovated softball fields, additional picnic and barbecue areas, new community recreation center, new restrooms, lighting, mural artwork, cameras, and landscaping. All of the residents and/or the users' requests are included in the site plan that will be submitted with the application on March 12, 2020. According to the city engineer's estimate, these improvements will be approximately $6.3 million. In addition to the above referenced steps, a resolution, which is before you, is required to formally approve the application for submittal to the state. The same resolution certifies that the city has the sufficient funds to complete the project, if it is awarded, to operate and maintain the project for 30 years, that the city has reviewed it and understands the provisions in the contract of the grant, the mandatory workshops, and the performance periods, identifies and designates an authorized signer, which is City Manager Tyler Salcido, agrees to comply with all the federal, state, and local laws, and most importantly, that the city understands that this is a competitive grant, and submitting an application does not guarantee an awarding of the grant monies. So currently, city staff is filling out the application with all of the data provided by the residents and constructing the narratives from the data to submit the application by March 12, 2021. After submittal, the application will go into review at the state level, and they will contact the city with any questions they may have, and a response on the outcome will be in about 5 months. Based on the eligibility requirements, no match is necessary, so no fiscal impact.
Good. That was one of my questions.
You needed a motion
Any
to approve
questions?
the resolution.
Any questions?
I don't have any, just a motion.
All right, let's hear,
Sounds
anyone want to make a motion to?
I'll make a
mo-
motion.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and make the motion
Please.
to approve.
I'll second the motion.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, before we move on, can I make one comment?
Sure.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention about Sylvia Luna, who's sitting in the audience. She's been the ramrod, the person that has, up until Rachel got here, to ensure that every deadline was being made, getting the community engagement, and she's done all the heavy lifting. So Sylvia, we appreciate
Let's give
you.
her a round of applause. Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good to hear that, and just
They
feel
will
like-
make a good team, those two, so.
Yeah.
Good.
I
Fantastic.
feel like we're in the presence of greatness here, all these
Right?
awesome people in the room.
And not just Sam, you know what I mean?
Oh, no, but certainly Sam is great.
Certainly Sam, certainly Sam.
My dad always says, they say all great men are dead, and I haven't been feeling so well myself lately.
Oh, that's, I don't know about that one.
That sounds like something Sam would say.
So it does.
All right, moving on to item 4E.
Sam just looks dead.
Approve amendment number 3 to the professional services agreement with LC Engineering Consultants to provide services to conduct as-built survey and design of crossing improvements of existing underground Best Canal and new water line within the Wildcat Drive and Western Avenue intersection in the amount of $4,130, and total contract not to exceed value of $27,530. Presented by Guillermo Cias, our Public Works Director. Backup is on pages 75 to 78, and Guillermo's not in San Francisco anymore.
Back from San Francisco.
back from San Francisco.
There you go.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. This item is related to the project on Wildcat Drive construction that will start soon. We were able to obtain another grant for the construction of Western Avenue, which is joining the Wildcat Drive. And as part of WICA, we have to install a 12 inches water line and to leave a preparation for the water line on Western. Since the project has two different schedules, we are planning to do this short study to be able to connect the water line in the future of Western Avenue. And we want to cross above the base canal pipe, which is 60 inches diameter. It belongs to the IID. And we want to do this work to be able to determine the elevation and be able to do a safe crossing with our water pipe. The reason for the amendment is because previously we had a consulting agreement with this company and we did two amendments. So we want to do another one to do this study. Any questions that you have?
Guillermo, does it, in your estimation, does it look like that will clear to run it above that 60-inch pipe?
Yes.
So they just need to document that and verify it?
Right. Yes, we did with our own personnel, we did the exploration, the hauling of the IID and the existing line, water line. And LC engineering is going to take the elevations and do an exhibit that we will provide both to the IID for an encroachment permit and to the contractor because it will be a change order later on during construction. This is just a study, but during construction, the contractor will have this change order to do this crossing.
Yeah.
We are in conversation with the IID, so they, as long as we comply with their requirements, we will be fine. We want to do it above because to do underneath the 60 inches base canal, it would be very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And this pipe the IID pipe was installed probably 2007 when Walmart was constructed. So there's no preparation for that. For the other crossings that we have at 2nd Street with Ladigo Ranch, we install a pipe underneath the canal and then the IID cross through the pipe. So we have a preparation that will make it easier. But this one was done, long time ago when wasn't any project for this. So now that we have these two projects in the streets, so we need to cross the water pipe to make a loop with the Lincoln Road water line.
Okay. Better to do it now than have to dig stuff
Yes.
up later.
Right.
Okay.
Either we do it right now or we do it when we do Western, but it will be easier to do it right now.
Yeah, just got it. Okay, do I have a motion to approve amendment number 3?
So moved.
Motion, got a second?
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? All right, the motion carries. Thank you, Guillermo. Next up is item 4F, discussion and potential action to approve the replacement of the Spillman Records Management System with Pro Phoenix. This will be presented by our Police Chief, Jimmy Duran. Backup is on pages 79 through 82. Welcome, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor, Councilman, and city staff and the public. Well, before I start, I would like to give a little bit of a background as far as what the system that is being replaced is. Our current system is called Spillman. That's in essence what it is. It's just software. It's a regional law enforcement digital records management system. That's what it is. It allows us to operate together with the rest of the agencies, and that's our current system. But just as background, we originally received the system back in 2004. And this infrastructure really provided the much needed connectivity between public safety agencies back then, and it still is doing it today, right? And it really allowed us for a shared access system for disaster preparation and redundancy and at each dispatch center. So it's really working out. the fact is that it's nowadays it's getting outdated. So like every software system needs to be replaced. Throughout the years, we have done some upgrades on it, but partially, or one of the major problems with this system is that it's kind of costly to update it. So every time you do an update, it really pushes the cost up. So we decided to start looking into a new system. Why? Because there's new mandates that are being sent forward by the California Department of Justice, and these are coming in the form of criminal statistical reporting requirements, which means this system that we have has to produce these reports that are really hard to put out if you're going to do it manually. Now, if we are to maintain this same system, it's going to be costly. So what we did as members of the Imperial County Police Chiefs and Sheriffs Association, we started looking for a new system because this is, in essence, a regional system. So within the last 18 months, we've been working on this. We did a review, rating, evaluation, in a lot of efforts, in order to find an appropriate system, and not just an appropriate system that will do everything it needs to do, but something more. And of course, always looking for a most cost-effective avenue. So that's how we ended up with the Pro Phoenix system, and this is a secure web-based solution, and it's accessible on multiple platforms, let it be desktop, cell phone, tablet. So it's really going to allow us to do more than what the old system was doing. Is really going to make it possible to use location tracking, and this is really going to translate into improved public safety for our personnel. And it's really going to allow us to have a greater degree of accountability, and this is really translates to work productivity. And of course, it's going to allow us to focus on criminal prevention efforts, and so it's really going to make a difference. As I said, the cost is not going to be as high as maintaining the old system. If we were to maintain this system that we have, in the long run, we pay more because we have to upgrade it. Now, this is really working out as far as what we see here, because it's not only going to cost us less, but it's going to improve our effectiveness. So that's why we are moving with this system. So there's a lot of substantial benefits. And in addition, at this point, well, there's no viable solutions for us as a Brawley Police Department to branch out and say, we're going to do our own system. We can't. Why? Because just the benefits are not there from splintering from the rest of the county agencies. So that's why we're requesting that this new system be approved and in place of what we currently have. There is going to be a little bit of redundancy. As you know, when we replace one system with another, you do run into that. There's no prorated costs, so we have to pay full costs. So in other words, for 1 year, we're probably gonna end up almost paying a double bill.
Right.
So that's where we are sitting at this. But given the California Department of Justice mandates, I mean, we must comply starting January 1st, and the only viable solution is going to be this system. Any questions?
Sounds like our hands are tied, and we'll have to double pay for the first year, but it sounds like it's really going to help with productivity, with writing reports and submitting those, and just kind of real-time information being submitted that we don't have that advantage right now, so.
Mayor, the numbers it's about 21,000 this year that we've already paid out of the general fund, and that service will be provided through the end of November. So, but that has already been paid. Okay. So it's not going to be an ongoing expense. It was a one-time expense. So you can basically say we're going to double for the fiscal year.
Yes.
For payments.
Yes.
And that would be a general fund adjustment.
Okay.
That is correct.
One question, Mr. Mayor. With law enforcement agencies, the sheriff's department's going to go with this system I got from what you were talking with your
Yes.
backup. And then other agencies within the valley that we deal with for dispatching and everything else, they're all going to be involved in this system? Is that?
Yes,
am I
all the
correct?
PSAPs will be involved, which means every public agency that has a dispatch center will be involved in this, because
Okay,
that's
with
how we
this.
operate. Yes, with
And we'll
this.
be operating, since we're dispatching for some of the other local, smaller
Exactly.
things, they'll be involved with this too, to a certain extent, but they'll have to go along with that, and I'm assuming that's already been.
Yes, it's been
agreed to.
discussed at the meeting with the Imperial County Police Chiefs and Sheriff Association, because this is the best solution. I mean, we need to keep integration because we work with each other. We live in a world with data. We just saw a presentation. It's all about data, but in reality, law enforcement is all about data as well. That's how we track criminal activity. That's how we decide where we need to go. That's how we strategize nowadays. And if we don't work together with the other agencies, we are really, it wouldn't be good for our community.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just-
Thank you.
Just a quick question. Probably, I'm making the assumption, but for the public's benefit as well, Chief, and assuming it's all compatible, obviously, with hardware. I don't see any hardware investments in here. So just similar to Spillman, it'll be able to be utilized through the various platforms that we already have.
Yes, that's correct. It doesn't require a hardware upgrade. It's only software. So that means our system stays the same. Our servers, everything that is needed, all the infrastructure that is needed to operate the system just stays. Our data gets migrated into this new system, so we don't even lose our data. We continue to use our data. I don't want to use the word mine our data, but we continue to use it for police purposes.
Yeah.
And then at some point, the Spillman system will just have to be deleted from all the devices.
Yes, that is correct. So there'll be a turnover period, which they estimate it's going to take anywhere from 6 to 8 months, and that's why it's important that we act now, because Spillman system is only good, or our contract is only good until December 31st. So we have from now to then to do it, because if we go beyond that time, let's say we don't have the time to migrate the data, which it gets pretty complex. It's not that simple. It's a lot of information. If we go beyond December 31st, then we can potentially get stuck with a double bill next year.
Another year.
Yes.
Yes.
So those are introduced, they're not introduced with the fiscal year, they're basically at the end of the calendar year.
That is correct. They go by calendar year.
Okay.
Chief, you mentioned increased productivity. Does this mean that you'll have real time tracking access, like you'll know where all the officers and all the personnel are, like in real time?
Yeah, yes, and as you know, most newer software is going to offer more things that you can do with it. It's got different reporting. How can I say it? Databases that you can draw from. It's a lot more user friendly than what we have now. And as you know, we can only make educated decisions based on reports, and we don't have access to certain reports. We just can't make those decisions. You know, we need that information in front of us. And it could be anything, something that caught my attention, like what the gentleman said, you know, how many calls do we get at Walmart, you know? A new system should be able to mine that information a lot faster than our current system.
And it integrates with the vehicle computer, so you see vehicle speed and that kind of stuff in real time?
Yes, well, this is totally, it's a different system that what we had talked in the past. This is going to be just our computer-aided dispatch system.
Gotcha.
So this is just how we dispatch our officers. That's how we dispatch EMS. That's how we keep track of records. That's how we keep track of our evidence. That's how we keep track of. It has a record management module as well. So.
I see Sam speeding in real time all the time. He doesn't slow down.
I have an agreement.
He's in agreement, see?
Okay, I have a motion to
I'll make a
approve the
motion.
replacement of the Spillman Records Management System with Pro Phoenix?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion as presented here, the resolution as presented.
Okay. We have a
I'll second the motion if there isn't someone.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions?
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. Perfect. This is all, all this software upgrade, it's throughout the city is going to be very helpful. It's painful at first, but it's going to make a huge difference in just the time it takes to do stuff in finance.
You know what I like about this meeting, honestly, is that I just feel like we're becoming a little bit more united as a group, and we're moving forward and making some headway.
Yes.
New staff members, new improvements to our community. It's good to see that. It reminds me of years past where I've felt like it's been very united, and there's a lot of agreement within the group. I just like it. So anyway, just a comment.
Are you asking for a group hug? Is that what you're?
Group hug.
Okay.
Can't do that during COVID.
Virtual hug.
Can't do any hugs during
Virtual
COVID. I
hug.
don't want to hug you anyway.
Careful, bro. I'm a hugger, man. If you start asking for a hug, you're going to get one every time.
That's cold. You'll remember that?
I'll hug you back. It's all
Bear
right.
hug. Good meeting, good meeting. All right, so we'll move out of regular business to item 5, departmental reports. First will be 5A, an update on informational technologies activities.
That was the perfect segue from, into where Armando's going to present here.
There you go.
For many, many years, Armando has worked behind the scenes to keep the city running. He's what I described, the backbone and the nervous system for the city. And I think he needs to get a little props up here in front of everybody for all the work that's been going on behind the scenes.
Right, Mondo?
Tyler said nervous system. I thought he was going to say nerd for a second. I was like, come on
that
now.
too.
Be nice.
Well, we are going to talk
Man,
about
what's
nerdy
up
stuff,
with
so.
that?
You have to be. You got to be.
Yeah. I tell you,
I grew up with Mondo. I'll tell you, he was not a nerd. He was one of the cool kids.
All right. Still is.
it's going to be a hard act to follow, guys. That we've been doing a lot of work here. I'm really happy what I've heard today.
Yeah.
Very encouraging. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. I'd like to provide you guys an update of the current projects, budgeted projects, and future research projects that IT is doing. Some of these, I'm going to warn you, some of these items do date back to 2019 fiscal 20, and I'm only doing that because our previous mayor didn't get a chance to champion some of these accomplishments because of COVID. So let's kick this off. One of the things that IT did was we noticed the city was about 99% Windows 7 computers and 2008 servers, right? So Microsoft retired or reached the end of life January 2020. We got in and replaced all of those workstations and upgraded the operating system. One of the other things, and this is a major one for us, is that with your leadership, we were able to pass a password policy which improved our cybersecurity efforts. We took that opportunity too to kick off a cybersecurity awareness campaign with all of our staff too. We sat down with every single staff member. IT hijacked a lot of the department meetings and sat down and talked about some of these threats. So that's a major win. Thank you for passing that. In 2019, Fire Station 1, I got to tell you, Chief York did a lot of improvements out there. One of the things we did is we upgraded their firewall with next-gen capabilities. That gives us the ability to handle some of the threats that are out there. We increased their internet bandwidth, and we improved wireless internet access for them, as well as installing a new phone system for them. So they got a nice upgrade out there. Why did the fire station need increased bandwidth? Chief York must have had a crystal ball because COVID happened, right, and everything went virtual. Not only that, they started a cost recovery campaign, which IT developed a database for them to track some of these issues or some of these costs, not only with Fire Station 1, but Fire Station 2. And this database is also accessed by Finance Department. So that was a win for us. We also, in 2019, we upgraded the dispatch center. And I got to tell you, every chief that's been here has put a little bit of something into it. And I'm really excited what the current chief is doing, by the way. But what we did there is, if you haven't visited the dispatch in the last couple of years, I highly encourage it. Take your vaccine first, but I highly encourage you to go down there and check it out. Some of these upgrades consist of large display signage monitors, which dispatchers are able to have video surveillance 24/7, height adjustable desk. I think they even have a heater, air conditioner in them, multi-monitor workstations. I think they're running like 6 monitors over there. Very impressive stuff, very cool stuff, to the fact where if you walk in, there's a red light showing you, hey, don't talk to that dispatcher because they're on the phone. Cool stuff. Highly encourage you to go down there. That year, we also implemented in the PD a interview room recording system. It's cloud enabled. It allows staff to be able to share some of these records with other agencies without having to use USB drives or blank DVDs, all electronic. This year, we completed an upgrade for all of the MDCs, all of the mobile computers inside the vehicles. Big win for us. Chief just told you when it was that we implemented Spillman, that's when those computers were in. These computers are ready for this next gen CAD system that the chief's talking about. So we're ready. They're ready. Parks, we talked about parks earlier. I'll tell you what's a small win, but big win for IT here. What we've done for them is we've incorporated IoT lighting for them, Internet of Things. This allows our park staff to be able to turn on and turn off lights to these fields. We did it at Westfield most recently, but we've also done Hinojosa. So this, what does that do? Our staff doesn't have to physically go down there to turn them off. Doesn't have to be there to turn them on. We have an app to automate some of this stuff. So those little small wins there end up being big down the road for us.
It's awesome.
Lion Center, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of excited, so if I'm going too fast, let me know.
It's good, it's good.
Slow me down. Lion Center.
Sam has the app.
He has the app, he's turning off.
He's been turning them on.
He is turning
He's
his
doing his
lights on.
kickball tournaments.
He is, yeah.
Why am I the
Nighttime.
goat here all the time? I want to know.
He plays midnight baseball.
Does he?
Yeah.
Nice.
Put a
Wakes
moratorium
up
on
the
Sam
neighbors.
jokes.
Why am I the target tonight?
Okay.
I want to know, you know.
Well, don't go in the pool at night.
Yeah,
I'm
see?
going to tell you why. The pool was a hot spot for PD and our park staff not too long ago. There was a lot of issues going on there, and park staff and PD came to me, and we were able to deploy a surveillance system for them now, which, by the way, is being monitored 24/7 by our nice dispatch center. So that was a win for us too. And since then, I haven't heard of any issues out there. So it's working. Pre-COVID, Del Rio branch library got a new firewall also with cybersecurity technology features, and we also deployed wireless access points for them. They didn't have that before. This is a major win for us too, because staff was taking from the main branch, right, their data, logs, whatever it is that librarians do with them on USB drives and CD, taking them down there. Now they're able to access some of that remotely, and actually they can log into any computer within our city and access some of these files. So huge collaboration efforts there. At the end of 2019, our library was able to secure grant funding from IID for ADA compliant workstations. Really cool. If you haven't been down there, I hope the library opens soon so we can have these features out there for them. So what this included was a wheelchair friendly desk. It can be height adjustable, large monitors, touch screen, ergonomic mouse, joystick, headset with microphones. Very cool stuff. I hope you guys can go out there and check things out. Library this year, we modified their library catalog system to allow for curbside services. Why is that a big thing? That request came to me. I was asked, hey Armando, can you put a website out there with form that the public can fill out and we can get curbside? And I thought, well, our library catalog's already public facing. I contacted the vendor and he said, yeah, we can flip the switch and make some changes. Guess what? Our patrons are already familiar with that website, already have accounts to that website. And we just asked our patrons, hey, log in. You already know that website. Log in, put your information there, and voila, curbside was live. Cool stuff. One other thing we did because of COVID was, well, library did, is they got the Brawley Reads going. Very cool project. This consists of volunteers coming in and reading. And so I was asked for a platform. How can we do this? Now, it's not the most elegant platform, but it works, right? And we record it, we edit the video, and we put them on our social platform. What's really interesting is that our staff asked, hey, we want to be self-sufficient. I know you're helping us with editing the videos. Can we do this ourselves? So they learned how to edit these videos, and they're posting them on themselves. And I got to do a plug here. One, one of my relatives is one of the first ones to read, so I highly recommend you to look at one of the first ones. And the second plug, if you haven't seen the mayor's video, oh my goodness, he has a great performance in there with the violin. So check it out. And you guys, one of my favorites.
I'll get you your money later. Thank you.
So wastewater, last year, I worked with them to refresh their server environment and their network infrastructure. This also included the upgrade of their SCADA system, and that SCADA system is what controls the water, that wastewater. Big win for us there. That's been end of life and end of support for several years.
And Armando, if I can interrupt you, that's not an easy connection, right? Because it's way out of town. And so it's a little bit of a constraint there, right?
Exactly. I on a public forum, I won't diverge how we're connecting, but yeah, it is. Cybersecurity. Sorry, I don't like letting out our secrets here, but yeah, it was a challenge. They are way out there. Council chambers. This room, we've implemented Zoom for the city. We've wired up this room to be Zoom friendly. Take a look at the videographer, how he connects, he plugs into the wall. We've implemented wireless microphones. That's kind of a win. We had presenters from out of state present. Donnie presented from Alaska.
Yeah.
Yes. I did. These are also, some of these are small, but
too cool, bro. Too cool.
Yeah, it's big stuff. So one of the things we did is we purchased and deployed webcams for all of management staff now that we are, everything's remote. And this was done with the CARES Act funding. We've also increased capacity, wireless capacity for all of the departments to accommodate for social distancing with CARES funding. We've reorganized and modified many workstation locations for various staff to accommodate for social distancing. We've implemented remote access capabilities for various staff that temporarily worked from home. And probably the biggest one here that's in my backyard is we've migrated away from an end-of-life, end-of-support server infrastructure that we had, where the vendor, January of 2020, said, hey, you've had that, thank you for being a loyal customer, but we can't support it anymore. Well, with you guys approving the last budget, we were able to migrate that to a newer, modern infrastructure that it consists of, solid state stuff, nerdy stuff, cool stuff.
Yeah, there you go.
It's faster for that.
See, you were kind of right there.
Yeah. So, current projects, what are we doing right now that are budgeted projects? I'm helping just as a technical assistant, right? The finance department with their new ERP system, the financial system. I gotta hand it to them. They're doing phenomenal work for the limited resources that they have. So when this is done, you guys gotta buy them something. Fire Station 2. So here goes Mike again with his upgrades, right? We're budgeting we are deploying a point-to-point wireless bridge from the PD to Station 2. This point-to-point will provide Station 2 with a more reliable internet connection and increased current bandwidth capabilities. Also CARES funding. The data center, we will working on, and I already have the equipment, on replacing network gear. A lot of end-of-life, end-of-support equipment that we have. Some of these sites are the library, the PD, admin, parks, and the finance department. PD, we are in the middle of, this is a little delayed project, but we're making some headway here. They're upgrading their radio system. And the PD, this includes, is a regional network upgrade. It also includes encryption. So some of you hobbyists that like listening to a scanner, that will go away pretty soon. And this is a win because the agencies that have done this update had to purchase wireless devices and put towers on their buildings. We are using, and from what I understand, we're the only agency that is using our existing network infrastructure, using the fiber that we have from the PD down to the sheriff station. to accommodate for this. Big win for us. We didn't have to buy that ugly tower antenna, and we didn't have to spend the money.
That's cool. I'm glad you understand all this stuff, Mondo.
Yeah, because
I'm happy to have you here.
All departments, this year, we will be rolling out Microsoft Teams to all of the departments. A lot of departments still use Skype for Business. Microsoft will be retiring that at the end of July of this year, so we'll be doing that pretty quickly. And finally, parks. Or IT is involved in the grant project for the Hinojosa Park that we just talked about. I am simply a technical advisor. The team is working really hard there to get that awarded, and you'll be blown away by what they've put together. Cool stuff. I can't wait for you guys to see it. So future projects, wish list stuff, right? Stuff we're researching. IT is looking to improve their help desk ticketing system so I can provide better support for our staff, and we're able to track some of the cool stuff we're doing. The water treatment plant is looking to improve their current bandwidth. They have some bandwidth limitations. They're actually researching improving the remote access to manage some of this SCADA stuff, the software that manages the water. Interesting enough, Ricardo out there had reached out to me weeks before looking into this project, and I'm not sure if you guys are familiar. It wasn't that long ago that a city in Florida was breached, and they attacked their water system, and somebody remotely was messing with the levels of that water treatment. So this is pretty, serious stuff. And Ricardo was ahead of the game, and he was already looking at this stuff before that happened. The wastewater plant, we already talked about that. We replaced the server there and network infrastructure, but we also need to do the viewing stations that connect to that. That will probably be coming up pretty soon. And finally, cybersecurity. We're looking to augment the cybersecurity efforts for the city. Some of that includes email security, scanning technology, and staff training. And also looking at possibility of funding. Homeland Security just recently announced augmenting their monies to fund some of this for us. That's it. I want to ask if I can bore you guys for another 2 minutes. I do have a cybersecurity presentation I'd like to present to you guys also, but if you guys have questions on what I just talked about.
No, I think just a comment, if I could.
Oh.
No, I think, Donnie, go ahead.
No, I was going to preface with, you absolutely should, and you know what, whatever time it takes, it could be absolutely devastating. I'm figuring out, I think a lot of us lay people don't know how threatening that environment is. Every minute, probably every second, every minute of every hour of every day, those exterior threats or external threats are attempting to breach these systems, ransomware, malware, all that. And so if you can imagine how debilitating that could be to any organization, much less a public agency. So this is not a cliche. It's something I think to be taken very seriously, and I'm just echoing it for you. I know you're already doing the work. I know staff's doing the work, but I'm saying it from here that it may not be something you think of. We think of crime as something in our, maybe in our neighborhoods or streets or community that we need to fight, but this could be in some ways equally hideous if we have, the highest level threat actually attack or a successful attack.
Yeah. Just a comment, if I could. About 10 years ago, we didn't have an IT manager. We just didn't have one. We had some people with some know-how within the police department that would do things for us.
Collateral.
And it's just so different today. So, Armando, this is honestly the most excited I've seen you in the role, and I'm happy to see that because I think there's a lot of collaboration going on within the city because all the departments that you're talking about that you're working with, I'm happy to see it. I really am. I'm excited to see it. And the more and more we rely on technology, look at this past year where we became very dependent on communicating virtually, right? And so that is just, we got to stay on top of these things, and I'm really happy that that you're engaged in it and that you're really collaborating with all the departments, from finance to police to fire to Parks and Rec to everybody. So you're a vital part of the team. And I really do appreciate what you're doing. For those of you who may not know, Mondo and I, we're friends. I've known him for a long time, and I can tell you that I haven't seen him this excited in a long time. And I know that there's a lot happening within the city, and I see it from this perspective, and I'm excited.
Yeah.
So no, thank you for the work you're doing. And I'll also give you props here, Mondo, in that more recently, as Donnie has mentioned, there are cybersecurity attacks. We constantly get hit. Our emails, we just got one from, I think, Mayor Hamby,
Yeah.
somebody pretending to be him,
Yeah.
Asking, it's a very common scam that runs.
I
But
do want those gift cards, though. So
right, I'm
if
going to
bought
get them for you.
hand 'em over.
But you were able to help stop that attack quickly, by removing those email addresses, and so but that's been multiple times in the past 12 months.
Right.
Yeah.
That's occurred to us. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
And I do want to give staff more and more credit for what they're doing. And I know it's hard to do during COVID, but I do thank Mondo for what he's doing, not just for, as a friend, but honestly, in a professional sense, you're always really knowledgeable about what you're doing. I appreciate that. So let's be really appreciative of the fact that we have somebody who's good and is on our team. So thanks, Mondo.
Yeah, Mondo, I honestly, I'm the rookie here, right? I haven't been here very long, and I wasn't privy to all this information. It's so much, and seeing in the private sector, a lot of this stuff has been implemented over, the past decade. It almost feels like we were really far behind. So just reading up on, just the notes that I took while you were speaking, this is very, very, very impressive, the amount of work that you put in over the past couple of years. What else could I say? The work speaks for itself. Thank you, and, keep it up, please. Of all the wish lists that you mentioned, is there anything in particular that you think stands out that we should be looking at, like, as of now?
By far, I'm a little biased, right, but by far, cybersecurity is probably the one that I would say.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
When you look at the county and the college, it just, like Donnie said, it's debilitating. It totally takes all of their focus and a tremendous amount of money to solve the problem. And so, yeah, I've been impressed. Just after I saw that happen for the first time, I'd never even really noticed ransomware attacks before. I'd heard about them a little bit, but hitting so close to home, I was like, Armando's got a real job on his hands just with cybersecurity. So I appreciate you bringing that.
Absolutely.
One of the things security experts are saying is there's not a single vendor, not one single vendor that will promise you or guarantee you 100% protection.
No.
It's just not out there. Doesn't exist.
It's a lot of smart people that are.
And think about it, you can have all the software and everything else, but all it takes is one person, introducing some software or something to the network, and then that can cause things to happen for you. So
Absolutely.
it is a little frightening when you think about it in that regard, but I appreciate you. Let's stay on top of it. And, I think there's even greater importance, like when you're talking about like Windows 7 being, end of life, and making sure we're on top of the software that we have. It's the most recent, modern, and, there's upgrades. So we can't fall victim to old habits, you know what I mean? So, because that used to be the case. We'd hold on to things for a long time. You just can't do that nowadays, you just really can't. So anyway.
And the longer you wait to upgrade and come into the modern age, the more it costs.
Yeah.
And it costs you more for a long time when you're, when it takes 2 or 3 days to do payroll, when it should take, a few hours, that's when you really see the cost, the personnel cost. So that's very exciting that, these changes are being made.
All right. Okay.
Let's
So
hear
we
this.
like to hear ourselves talk, so just keep going, bro.
I'm going to go ahead and get the PowerPoint going here. This is a cut from a smaller presentation, right? Just for the sake of time. If you guys, I can go deeper into this, but I'd like to do it in a private setting because I don't want to show my hand.
There
right?
you go.
Where we're at. So
Let's do it.
So cybersecurity, security firms and security professionals and vendors are all advising the exact same message to leadership. Cybersecurity is not just an IT issue, it's a business risk. And if you haven't heard that yet, you're going to hear it a lot, right? So I'm going to cut right to it, right? How is this happening, right? 67%, and I think that number is very conservative. 67% is just from email. You may recall not too long ago there was users were afraid of receiving an infected file or an infected attachment. Well, antivirus vendors got really good at detecting that stuff. So the game changed, strategies changed. Now these bad actors simply provide a link in the email. And once you click that link, malicious code runs, capture credentials, or redirect you to a very dangerous site. So email is something we need to really protect. And so what does this cost you, right? A lot of security professionals are saying it's not if, it's but when. So if cybersecurity professionals are already conceding to the fact that you're going to get hit, right? So what is this going to cost? Ignore the dollar sign for a minute. What caught my attention was that uptrend, right? This is something that's not going away. This business risk is not going away anytime soon, and it's only getting worse. The slide only shows the downtime costs. This does not include remediation. What is it going to cost you to fix it, to find it and fix it and implement a patch, right? In fact, Sophos Labs estimates that in 2021, ransomware incidents will cost a business over $700,000, right? So, is anybody actually targeting Brawley? You think anybody's is hitting us?
Yeah, they do.
This is today, 1 hour in a minute. That is today. We're being targeted.
Wow.
We get a couple of hits from Germany, and there is a hit from Canada.
Wow.
That's us.
Where are the majority coming in from?
All over.
All over the world.
Yeah, all over.
From Hebrew?
From Hebrew. Someone's playing bootleg Fortnite.
So I mentioned earlier that these vendors are saying not one single vendor can offer you protection. What is a protection for us? How can we defend this? Mainly it's staff. We're the biggest security layer in educating staff. Unfortunately, we're the thinnest layer, but we are. I just I wanted you guys to see this and be aware of the threat, but
crazy.
But also know that we're not sitting around waiting for this to happen, right? We're doing stuff. I've had conversations with and collaborating with our city manager, the interim finance director. She hit the ground running. We talked about this, and even our personnel risk administrator. We've all talked about and strategized. I won't divulge in a public setting what we're talking about doing and how we're going to attack it, but want to let you know that we are doing something about it, but this is a big threat.
Great.
One last thing. Sorry, guys.
No, good.
One last thing. I want to thank staff also when you helped implement that password security and we started this cybersecurity awareness. Staff was very receptive, alert, and vigilant when it came to cybersecurity. So much of the fact that I constantly get calls, emails, screenshots of suspicious activity. You guys also. So I very much welcome those emails, those calls. Our staff is doing their part. Our staff's an important and crucial security layer for cybersecurity. So that's it, guys.
Good job, bro.
As you can see,
that is good.
I think cynicism is a virtue in cybersecurity.
Sure.
You've got to be questioning everything you get, almost.
Yeah.
These reports and updates from different department heads and managers, this was Tyler's idea to try to showcase what each, or George's idea.
Hey, you know what's up? Los pelones, bro, you know what's up?
To showcase what each department does and the wins that we've got and the efforts that are being made. And I think it is important to see what each department is doing. And we've had an update from PD, now from IT. Have we had any others yet?
Those are the first two out of the chute. We'll be lining more up for you.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Sounds
good info, though. It's
Sounds
good for us, for the public, people watching, for staff themselves, you know, it's good stuff. I like it.
Yeah, and it's good practice for people that don't like getting up in front of, you know, an audience and speaking. This is.
You could really tell Armando didn't like that, yeah.
It's a safe space here for all of that. All right. Thank you, Armando. We will move on to item 5B, monthly staffing report for March 2021, prepared by Shirley Bonias, our Personnel and Risk Management Administrator. Backup is on page 83.
I get to talk about staff.
Yay.
Shirley Bonias, Personnel and Risk Management. As you can see on page, my page number didn't print on the report. We have placed a Parks and Rec manager, yay, we met Rachel, and we're currently recruiting for the library manager. And police officers, we have two in background still, Chief, correct, and one dispatcher. Hopefully we'll wrap those up soon. I know dispatch is getting out on the burnout side of things with being down persons for years, literally years. And then, of course, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. Very well.
Very good job.
Thank you, Shirley.
Thank you. Thank you. No, great job in getting people in. Thank you.
Shirley keeps it short and sweet. She doesn't want to.
No, but she did, I mean, think about the work she's been doing.
Yeah.
Between Tyler herself, you know, recruiting and getting people on board is fantastic. It's every piece of the puzzle and every piece of the staff's working together. I'm happy to see it.
One of those that works a lot behind the scenes that you just don't know what she does, but she protects us
Well, I
from
know
a
what she
lot
does.
of
Yeah.
a lot of expensive liability, among other things. All right, item 5C, update on emergency construction project at the Brawley Water Treatment Plant to replace components of 2 sedimentation basins, presented by Guillermo Cias, Public Works Director. Please tell me this is the last time, Guillermo, that we're going to see this.
No offense. No offense.
No offense.
None taken.
Our favorite topic.
Yes, this is our favorite topic.
Yes.
As I mentioned in the last meeting, this project was complete on February 13th, and it's just pending the last employer that will be presented to you at the next council meeting, but that should be it.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Let's applaud that.
A lot of applause tonight.
We're working properly.
Okay.
Okay.
Very good.
Thanks, Guillermo. Item 6, City Council Member Reports. We'll start with Councilman Castro.
You know, I was gonna not report today, just to be quick, but I do want to mention that I've been fielding some calls about our things happening, the crime rate, and I do appreciate us. I contacted the chief and putting out the information. Just about the way our law enforcement, their hands are tied because of the current COVID situation, and you know, our police officers not being able to book a lot of individuals. We also took the calls about the lights. Well, we did start doing some research. I hope that we're not too late, Rachel, for that other grant that we looked at. Reached out to the Assemblyman's office and put Rachel's in contact with them now, and hopefully they can aid us and guide us as to how, you know, so that we can be successful with these grants. And that's about it. Oh yeah. Well, today is my grandmother's birthday. Well, she's passed now, so but it would have been her 90th birthday. It's also my good friend Raymond Gonzalez's birthday. I just want to wish him a happy birthday. The guy is a standout in the community. All the things that you guys know, that we're very active amongst veterans. That guy just does so much for everyone, and so I think publicly I want to wish him a happy birthday today. Just because it fell on today, right? Not because it's around this day, but it is today. So happy birthday, Raymond. Thank you for all the work you do in our community.
Awesome.
That's all I got.
Thank you. Councilman Horton?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll, of course, be brief. Just want to touch on, had some good conversation. I'll keep the organization at this point maybe a little bit more anonymous because I think it's still relatively early, but I had a chance with the city manager and the police chief to engage in a conversation of some additional development that might be happening in the community. So certainly more details to come forward, but that was a great opportunity to get leadership introduced to additional members of the community. And I think all of us are trying to do that, wherever possible. So thank you to the chief and the city manager for accommodating that. Outside of that, fielding calls, I think the activity level is certainly starting to pick up. So with positive news on the COVID front, hopefully it stays that way. Hopefully we can expect that to continue. Just one, I snuck a little request in meeting Rachel really out there in the parking lot, but I did have a note down here just to mention something about the pool. Excited to see our institutional user, BUHS, in there with the swim team. Hopefully we can continue that maybe as it warms up and we get away from having to heat the pool of considering lap swim, similar to what some of the other agencies in the valley are already doing. So I think there's a safe way to do that, and maybe that's just one more little tiny thing of many things that we got to look at anyways across that spectrum. So sorry, city manager, I was going to, I think I've been echoing that, but I figured I'd toss it out so that members of the public that are looking forward to that potential, that maybe that's something we can look at and just see what that is. So, Mr. Mayor, that's all I have.
Great, thank you. Donnie's probably training for another triathlon, so he needs that swim time.
I'll just call it what it is. Yep. That's what it's all about. I'm going down to El Centro and paying the fee and using, as a Brawley City Council member down there. So I'd
Giving El Centro
rather use our pool.
Giving El Centro our Brawley dollars over here.
I actually couldn't pay one time, so I thought that might hit the paper that I was trying to skate by with no fee.
Did you climb a fence or something?
I want everyone to know in the public, when I went down the second time, I doubled up on my
Okay.
payment. So I'm square with El Centro.
There's going to be a quid pro quo or something.
I heard about that.
Did
you hear?
Exactly.
All right, Councilman Nava.
Just want to thank council for the work you're doing. I know sometimes it goes in ebbs and flows, when we're highly engaged, when we're not as engaged, when, sometimes when we're excited and sometimes when it's stressful, and so, but I'm happy to see, we have new addition of some key staff and leadership team, and it's building and it's growing and it's exciting again.
Yeah.
And so I'm just happy to see it. I'm working on some things to be collaborating with the neighboring jurisdiction. I'll bring a report back in the future, but I'm working on that now, and it is hopefully to get some good ideas and some things flowing for the city of Brawley. I'm excited about the things we're working on, and I'll share more in the future, but it's good. It's a good start. It's a good start to the year, and I've been through multiple cycles of different councils and staff and things of that nature. I'll tell you, this is probably the most exciting time that I've seen from my time on council. And I've had some good moments. And I'll tell you, I'm happy with how things are working. So let's just keep that going. Let's keep that momentum going. And that's a message for all staff. Let's keep that going. We've got some new faces here, and it's exciting to see it. So that's it.
Good deal. Thank you, George. Mayor Pro Tem Sam Couchman.
Okay. Thank you. Couple of different issues. I've been monitoring the local vaccine clinics. I kind of get around a lot out there. So I've been to I went to the first one at PMH, and that was an interesting one. And now I've been to two other ones at Pioneers Memorial Hospital and one at IVC. And I think once you get an appointment, those clinics run very, very efficiently. And they do a very, very good job with what the resources that they have, and they put a maximum amount of resources out there. And most of the people are extremely helpful, and it seems to work very, very well. Getting the appointment seems to be the biggest problem out there. My advice to people, though, monitor our hub site, monitor PMH's website, monitor the county's website, and then call your local pharmacy. If you deal with a local pharmacy, especially here in Brawley, Valley Medical, Bonds, wherever, talk to them and the Clinica here in Brawley. Talk to them about the vaccine. Talk to them about getting on a list. I notice a lot of people will ask me, where do I get, I can't get on an appointment. How do I get a vaccine? And I'll tell them, well, go down to Bonds and put on their list if you're getting your medication from there or wherever. I said, or call the county, and if you're eligible, they'll tell you. And so I helped somebody today. They said, I can't get an appointment. I said, he was in Bonds. I said, go to the Bonds pharmacy and get put on the list. He did, and he got put on the list. So sometimes it's just getting information out there so that people can be aware of that. But I will say that the staff does a great job with the vaccine clinics. I have been vaccinated. I am 67, so I have been vaccinated, and I've received my second dose. But a lot of people don't really know how to do all of that. So it can be a real problem and a challenge for them. But just be persistent, be patient, don't get angry. You know, that's what I would advise everyone. So that was my talk on the vaccine clinics. The city did a service for Hidalgo Society and also for the public. There was an abandoned trailer next to Hidalgo Society. I notified the city manager.
You were the other one calling.
I got the text. I got several texts
Yeah,
on
so
that
did
trailer.
I.
And I do appreciate the city acting on that and getting that trailer moved. And I think we did accomplish that in the last couple of days. And Hidalgo Society, very happy. I received a thank you on behalf of everyone that they contacted the mayor and everyone on the council and also the city manager and city staff that were involved in getting that trailer. It had been there a while and they did, and we did get rid of it. And so it was parked on the city street and that was a problem. So that was a good one. I did get a call about skateboard usage on the splash pad. And I did not bring that up to city staff yet. I just now remembered it. But I did get a call on skateboard use on the splash pad. I am concerned that they may damage it.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
my biggest concern. And somebody reported to me that they see a lot of frequent skateboarders over there now, all the time.
We need
And so
to put
we
a
need to-
squash to it quick.
Yeah, we need to stop that and make
Yeah.
sure that the splash pad stays for splash activities
Yeah.
and not for skateboarding. I mean, we have a skateboard park, we have some other things that are out there, but it may be due to COVID, kids are out there more, things are happening, you know, and I would just like to see us, you know, caution everybody, notify the public, maybe put it on the hub, you know, that we're gonna be enforcing the rules on the usage of the splash pad.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Mayor
ahead.
Pro Tem Coucher, but with respect to the splash pad and the pool, maybe we can put that in our next agenda to see when that's gonna open back up and what plans are
That's a
for
good
that.
point. That's a
maybe?
good
Yeah.
idea, yeah, because we may be able to open the splash pad by summer.
Right,
We don't know what the status will be in terms of COVID.
but maybe we
if
should
it's
just run it
possible, we
so
can
it's
work.
working at least.
And, maybe we should be,
Yeah.
but when you run it, then people want to use it, and
Yeah.
maybe that's going to be
Maybe you could
something
stand
that
out
we
there and go
cannot
like
do.
that.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you want to volunteer, I'm perfectly willing to accept that. But I just think we need to protect our assets
Yeah.
in the same way, because
Yeah,
the repairs are
agree.
always very, very costly on those kind of
Remember,
items.
last time I'd mentioned all the skaters over at the transfer station, they were,
Yeah.
I mean, they were doing
Yes.
damage there, so.
Yes, and they do damage.
And it was like, honestly, it was like 30, 40 kids out there.
And I'm not against skateboarding anyway.
Uh-huh.
I used to skateboard when I was a kid, but there is some damage that can occur. Well, I used the metal wheels.
Yeah, I
You know,
bet.
the metal wheels and the little bitty board. Yeah.
Back to the
Go back to
future.
school.
bro.
So, okay, but that's all I have. Thank you to the city staff for
That's my
the work you do, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, sir.
They called them carriages back then, they weren't carriages.
You guys, Sam's gonna take you out in the parking lot.
I know,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah.
He's gonna,
Days.
Nah,
he doesn't throw punches either.
no, I'm not
He got
afraid.
weapons, bro.
I don't have a whole lot to report. I have attended over the weeks the Zoom meetings that the Public Health Department has for the COVID updates, and those have been informative as it's transitioned from just infection numbers to vaccination numbers. I've had multiple phone calls, as you all have, regarding the Little League, homeless issues, issues of trash not being taken care of behind businesses. I also got a call about some broken glass that I forgot until now to say anything to Tyler about, but on Main Street here on the sidewalk, I think it's in the 500 block north side, there was some fluorescent tubes that had been broken in the light fixtures overhead and rained down glass on the sidewalk in the last couple of days. So had some, as Donnie, some interactions with PD personnel that have been informative, you know, just getting the information out there of what the challenges are that they face, but some of the improvements that are on the horizon, both with software updates and, you know, as COVID lets up, hopefully there will be better opportunity for enforcement of some of these crimes that are not as, you know, they don't hurt people as much, but they sure, you know, they cost a quality of life. And so I'm looking forward to things kind of progressing back to normal. It's, as George has said a few times tonight, it's just very encouraging and exciting to see the direction that we're heading. And I want to thank Donnie for helping us bring in Tyler for our interim finance director a while back, and what that's turned into, and Tyler's energy, you know, in finance, and then catapulting into the city management position. It's been a game changer here over the last few months. So we are just grateful for what's happening, and happy to have all the new team members coming into place, and thank city staff for the work that they're doing. And I look forward to 2021, just blowing 2020 out of the water. I think we all thought 2020 was going to be something special, and it was special, all right, but it was not a good kind of special. So
Hindsight's 2020, bro.
it's so
You know what I
true.
mean?
It's so true.
Yeah.
So with that, I'll end my report and move it on to item 7, the city manager report.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll keep it brief. It's not a one-man job here, so it's a team effort. So I appreciate the comments, but staff is doing all the work to making me look good. But it's definitely a team effort. It's not a one-man show. So thank you all for helping me make the job a little easier. Secondly, I would just like to clarification on Mayor Pro Tem's social media. It used to be the hub, but now we have 3 different sites, and they're all the city of Brawley, in case you would like to look, because there's a lot of good messaging on all 3 sites. That's Twitter, which is pretty new in the last month, Instagram, and Facebook, where we put out our messaging. Again, it's the city of Brawley. If any public out there wants to search and sign up for those, or I don't know what the correct internet term is, but friend us or what have you. And one of the messages you're going to see is, and it just posted this last week or so, was a street sweeping schedule, the days it's going through, and we're going to repost that on a monthly basis. So hopefully the community can help us, and on those days try to find some different area to park so we can keep the streets looking sharp.
And Tyler, I thank you for that, because that came via a resident's complaint.
Yeah.
Then I had talked to Republic Service, and I talked to Tyler, and just within that time frame, they've been able to post the schedule and do other things. So I'm telling you, all those little things that would maybe go kind of behind the scenes and forgotten are now front and center, which I love. I really appreciate that, because it gets people engaged, and now they're, when they see that we're responding and the city's working, it's a different feeling people get, And we've had so much negativity because we haven't focused on the positivity. I swear to you, that's the difference. When you made the comment earlier, like there's a lot of clapping today, we should be doing that. We should be doing that for staff and for everybody. It's like when they don't see us, and I'll go on a soapbox, but I'm telling you, when they don't see that energy from us, when they don't see us talking about the success that we have in our community, it's like they're not going to recognize it. They're not
George,
gonna know.
if we don't, no one else
No
will.
one else will.
I mean,
I'm telling you, they won't. So no, anyway, but thank you, Tyler and staff, because you guys, even like the Facebook page, and now it's Instagram, now it's Twitter. I'm telling you, that has changed even in the past like 4 months. Like how much is that improved, Tyler? You know what I mean? It's like because he's enabled some staff members to really engage that. So anyway, it goes back to his leadership too. So anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt so much tonight, but I'm just excited. I think everybody's doing really good work. So
Good. Anything else, Tyler?
No, sir.
Okay.
Good job, Tommy. And I like your suits, man. You're always nice and dressed.
Thank you.
Always good.
GQ. And his socks. He always wears fancy
GQ,
socks.
man. He's GQ. And he has cool socks.
Having, as Armando mentioned, my Brawley Reads episode, I play the violin, if people don't know, and I played in symphonies over the years, and pretty much every symphony has a conductor, the person who stands up there at the podium with the stick and conducts. He doesn't play anything. He just points to people or whatever, uses hand motions to tell you to play louder or softer or whatever. But the great orchestras have a world-renowned conductor who can just bring that sound out of the different players, and that's kind of how I see Tyler. He's kind of our orchestra conductor for the city of Brawley. He's got all the players getting put in place who are good players and who will respond to his direction. And so yes, they're all helping make him look good and make us look good, but without his direction, I think when you don't have a good leader, it's hard to know what directions to follow. So we truly appreciate Tyler, and we are trying to be cohesive as a body up here to give him direction and the rest of the staff direction, so that we that we're heading the right way over this next year, so.
Did you play like Charlie Daniels or what, like Devil Goes Down to Georgia? or
I
what?
can, but not usually in orchestra settings.
I'm just saying for the kids.
No, I did not. For Brawley Reeds, I did not put
Yeah,
the
there
Devil
you
Went
go.
Down to Georgia. But yeah, as Armando said, check it out and you'll see.
There you go.
It'll help put you to sleep.
Oh, man.
And also, Tyler, I really appreciate you pushing forward this Urban 3 presentation, because I
Yeah.
think it is going to be a game changer as far as just data, concise data to help us know what decisions to make that will be profitable and the right decisions for our development in our city. So,
Whenever there was periods of time within the city and city council when we made the most progress was when the council was united, 5-0 votes, 5-0 votes, 5-0 votes. That's when the most progress was made.
yeah.
I'm telling you, I've seen it, and I've seen where there's been divisiveness in council and it just stalls.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like that happened for many years. And right now I feel like things are going to move forward. And it's going to be very progressive. So, it's good
Yep.
stuff.
Good deal. Okay, item 8, the city attorney report.
Oh, good news, I don't have a report.
Wow. That was even shorter than Shirley's report. That's great. Almost, let's see, item 9, city clerk report.
We opened bids on Legion Road Phase 3 today.
All right.
That's
Awesome.
good.
So hopefully next council meeting it'll come forward.
Nice. Good deal.
That's all.
That's awesome.
When that's
Okay.
done, we can start back up on phase 1, like I said, right?
Yeah, it'll be about that time.
That's right. Okay. That's it for the regular meeting. We will move into closed session.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Artie.
Is it hot?